Hi, I'm the wheelchair bypass hallway and seeds of extinction, Randy.
Hi, I'm the mildly homoerotic fake corpse that Ernest Lee stabbed for 2 short weeks when his barrels were on vacation, Mel's.
I'm the mysterious basket of fish sitting unexplained in the middle of Sal's amusement salvage, Darcy.
Hi, I'm a skeleton airplane pilot hanging upside down, trapped in my seat by a tree in a 14,000 mile per hour wind because I just can't reach my seatbelt release. Connie!
Welcome to the HHN 28 Post-Mortem edition of Mistresses of Mayhem. We made it through the intros without laughing!
Oh, incredible. I gotta let it out now.
It'll never happen again.
No, it will not.
Even though those were some of the best ones, I think we just all already knew them this time.
Yeah.
We planned, guys. If you have not seen the lengthy tweet of rejected intros, you are missing out. Because, hi, I'm the son of a bitch who moved the headstones and left the bodies.
I know.
And that is
so
just
good.
gold.
I really wanted to
so
be,
good.
hi, I'm just a waffle on a stick. Just a fucking waffle on a stick.
That was a great one.
I don't know why that one made me laugh so hard, but it really did.
That one was really funny. Well, I think just the waffle on a stick, like, I don't know. To me, that doesn't scream Horror Nights, but I guess
Did you guys
Horror
see
Nights
that they're selling them at a cart
they
now?
still are permanently. Like they're part of the Christmas food now.
Okay.
It was also really hard not to make an amulet of fear joke.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I can't wait for the garage sale.
Oh
yeah,
my
me
God.
too. Oh man,
It's just going to be the amulet of fear.
it's gonna be 35 tables of the amulet of fear, and the price is gonna be whatever shit's in your pocket right now.
With like
And it's
3
like,
buttons and a marble.
I have a cigarette butt and some lint, and they're like, perfect. Take 3.
That's pretty much it. Okay, so this is going to be a longer episode than normal, probably because we have so much to talk about. I think Darcy tweeted when we were all together in the park that we hadn't done an episode since Awesome Mix Live was open in Epcot.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's been a
I
while.
specifically only remember this because I ditched the episode to go see Awesome Mix Live.
I remember that too. I was a little mad, but also I understand.
Yeah.
And I feel like I understand Darcy's whole personality when it comes to her hyperfixations more than ever now that we've both been
You've
related
been
to
one
Carnival
of them.
Graveyard. Exactly.
That's it.
It definitely gave me a new perspective.
I feel that.
So
I forgot my follow-up to that anecdote, which was
dang
something.
it. Well, we all
never
went to
even did
Horror
an
Nights
episode with
together.
me, and that was Halloween 4.
No,
What?
whoops. Well, I mean, wait, Halloween 4 was it Horror Nights?
Was it? I always forgot it.
I'm
That was
sorry.
the one I consistently forgot was a house there.
Um,
Which was pretty good.
yeah, it actually was
Yeah,
pretty good.
I really enjoyed it.
I didn't hate any of the houses at all this year, but yeah, so that I was gonna say something too, but I done forgot it.
Oh, good. So let's go ahead and get cracking at this. So HHN 28.
Cracking
Maybe
like
I'm here for
Humpty
David.
Dumpty.
Blah.
Bleh.
That's about right.
Oh my god! You know what would have been a great
my
intro,
God.
guys? Hi,
What?
I'm that one really gay Eggman who just hung out of his boo hole.
No. Okay.
Those egg boys, I swear to
Those-
God.
I love the
Egg
Egg Boys.
Those eggy,
I
eggy
watched
boys.
one of them come out of his boo hole and say, "Hi, welcome to Chili's."
Uh-huh.
I cannot
I
handle
mean-
that level.
Doesn't Chili's just make you want to vomit egg bukkake everywhere?
Stop, you cannot say these things.
I don't
Oh,
wanna.
it's going to be so bad. Okay, so first up on tonight's bill, we're going to be talking about the scare zones, then we're going to do the houses, then we'll talk about the show and everything else. And it's going to be a good old time, you guys.
I love talking.
Yeah.
We haven't done it for so long.
It has been a long. We have not. Well, you know what's weird, and I think this is not just us. My whole social media existence revs up towards September, and
Yeah.
then do you remember actually hits. And I like almost disappear. Like I would get home from work and I'd be like, oh yeah, I have 70 notifications on Twitter. And I just can't do it when I'm working. Like I'm so exhausted during the event. And that goes for attending as well. That like, I have like, oh, I'm going to like live tweet all this fun stuff on my nights off. And then it's like, I'm there and I take like one picture of my foot and that's it.
When I was there, granted, very sick most of the time, but I made like 0.3 tweets by myself.
Yeah, exactly. And we like remember we like said, oh, we're gonna film for a vlog, and granted that was before the sickness thing happened, and also before we accidentally went on the most crowded night of the entire year.
Yeah, that happened too.
Yeah.
Like that, people, you guys, we were there on Horror Nights like Hell Night, like not Hell Week, Hell Night.
Hell Night. Yeah, it literally was one of the worst of the entire year, but I was really drunk the whole time and I didn't even notice.
Oh, we had the best time anyway. We
were drunk. We were all emotional. 2 of us cried.
I was
very
loudly
outside of part of the graveyard.
Now they're fighting over who cried the most.
Wait, no, I just forgot that I cried at all.
Yeah, we were crying because the barrels came back.
Oh, right.
I remember. I do remember. Do you remember?
When the barrels returned to Enos. Yeah.
In October.
Stop.
Okay, we got to get into these scare zones. So let's get right into it. We're here. We're ready. It's awesome.
Let's get right into the scare zones. Is that still funny?
Maybe?
No.
Is Keemstar still funny? Damn it. Okay, listen, I tried.
We are so hip.
Very cool.
Okay, so we'll start with the very front of the part. We'll start with the harvest.
Rest in peace, the sexy hay bales.
Tall boys. Tall boy long arms. Good.
Tall boy long arms.
That we all like drunkenly confess our love to.
Yeah, that was great.
Melody, you had like a 5-minute conversation about how much you loved him.
Did I?
You really did. It was long.
Honestly, that's like, that's everything I do with these events. Like, Connie can vouch for this. When we go to Halloween, when we go to anywhere, like, I get into very lengthy interactions with characters.
You literally got him inducted into the cult of long-armed pumpkin man.
It was beautiful. Didn't he hug me?
It was great.
Yes.
Kind of? Oh, God, that was great.
You danced with him.
Oh,
I think he kind of
beautiful.
blessed all of us with his long arms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so like happy for past Melody.
It was so fun.
I'm glad she got to do that. That sounds nice. I enjoyed that scare zone.
Me too.
I also enjoyed it maybe a little bit more. Well, I actually spent more time in Altars last year, but just because the music was so good, but also the music was so good this year. They had so much original music in that zone. Yeah, that and Twisted Tradition, so much original. But I loved that it was like a grand experiment. Can we put a trigger on the street? And the answer is yes. And they're very scary.
Oh my God, it got me so bad.
That was the worst part of Horror Nights for me, was the overwhelming urge to hit one of those triggers every single time I walked past.
Damn.
Man, I feel like that would have been even more infuriating than touching the rope. Like that was if I was in that scare zone and I saw a guest hit that trigger, I would probably actually explode.
It would be a hay person exploding into a pile of like drifting hay on the air.
They would I would just become a what's that thing called? Tumbleweed. Just universal.
I really liked the scare zone. For me, granted, I was there this year to experience it in person and that make it different. I liked it better than Altars.
Yes, I agree with that statement.
I actually low-key think I preferred Altars, but also very biased because American Horror Story was featured.
You live there. Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, also my trigger was in that street last year, which I was like,
That's good.
I have a question. I have a picture. I have a promo picture from last year from that house. You know how last year happened so long ago? The Scarecrow House Pigmen and their long fingers. I have like a promo picture from them that's on my background right now.
Oh,
and it's got really long fingers. And I think they used the same long fingers on the actors in Harvest this year because they got super long fingers.
And Twisted Tradition.
Yep, there was a lot of long fingers.
There's a lot of floppy hands this year.
A lot of long finger pumpkin head boys.
Oh God, those pumpkin boys.
I love
It's my type.
Me, yes.
Yeah, when I go on Tinder, it's just like, sorry, only looking for pumpkin-headed boys with long fingers.
I have to say this about the harvest. If this is the new normal for the front of the park, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
No.
The front
This
of the
is
park
good.
is so like
I actually really liked the little their little altars in the park, like in that zone. I thought those were really cute. I thought the poltergeist one was like a genuinely fantastic photo op to have the TV right there.
absolutely.
And I loved like the detail on the clown, and I don't know, like I thought they were actually really unique little setups, and they made great photo ops because a piece of scenery does not have to consent to a picture.
Yes.
Yep.
And that makes it a whole lot easier than when your photo ops are living people with emotions who maybe sometimes don't want it, and then people get upset, and it's nobody's fault, but everybody's mad. So,
yeah. No, that's a great way to put it.
Yep.
Also, I really liked how each of the pumpkins on the Halloween 4 one was making a very different emotion face. And so each day, depending on how I felt, I could have a mood on those specific pumpkins.
Plus, it's easier pickings than, say, the entire wall of pumpkins in Twisted Tradition.
Right, but I did not walk by Twisted Tradition on my way into work.
Good point.
So I had to settle for either the trick-or-treat pumpkin or the 4 pumpkins on Halloween 4.
Oh, yes, the 2 emotions. Mixed emotions and fire.
Yes,
I love it.
The 2 genders, trick or treat and Halloween 4.
Oh
no, the 2 genders, Sam and Michael Myers.
Sam. I think I might be Michael Myers.
Yeah, I would say. Well, actually, I'd say you're Sam Myers.
That's okay. I'm.
Which is just Sam, Samwise Gamgee, but the size.
Yes.
But the size of Michael Myers.
Can I have a knife to cut up all those potatoes? Listen.
Yes. Oh man, could you imagine if Michael Myers came out of his boo hole, took off his mask, and he said, potatoes? That would be incredible.
That would have been such a crossover this year because Sean Astin is also in Stranger Things now.
Oh man, it's confirmed.
Lord
of the Rings confirmed for HHN 29.
Lord of the Stranger Things?
Lord of the Things.
Sign me up. I want to get those thing lords.
But one thing will rule them all.
Oh my god.
We have to stop. We're never going to get out of this one.
9 things were given to the men, 7 things to the elves. 3 things were given to man, but all of them were deceived, for a stranger thing had also been made.
Stop.
Okay.
I'm gonna cry.
Can you imagine? I'm sorry, one more. 11, but Gollum.
Waffles, my precious. Waffles.
Oh my god.
I hate it. Okay. Oh man.
Final thoughts on the harvest. Come on, guys.
Did we just lose all of our watchers?
Let me see. We have 2 other watchers. One of them is
thank God.
One of them is me, so
and one of them is me.
Well,
we have one person watching.
Hey.
Anyways, so final thoughts on Harvest. I liked it. It was pretty nondescript compared to everything else, but it certainly didn't make me mad. I don't think it made anybody else mad. I would say they got pretty decent scares. Yeah,
that's what I was about to say. It got really good scares, especially at the end of the run.
Yeah, I mean they had literal boo holes, those little hidey fences, and then the triggers. Which is, triggers are a great way to get a scare. It's louder than any sound a human being can make.
Challenge accepted.
Connie, no.
I was thinking the scare zone. This was the last one I got to hang out in with everybody this year, so it has very sweet memories for me.
Oh, you're right.
I got a good fun for everybody in this one.
We had a group hug and we all cried.
Yep.
Let's cry right now.
Ooh, yes, let's cry.
I'm just so sad.
Me too.
We moved on to Cult of Chucky.
Okay. Thank you, Randy, for ending the cry fest.
trying to get a nice segue in there.
You actually were not going to start crying later on in the episode when we start talking about Carnival.
Listen.
I was about to say, this is where we don't at least once, right? Anyway. Cult of Chucky.
Zone of the year.
I was about to ask, did that finally get confirmed? Because we were told it was Vamp 85 at one point.
It was never Vamp. That was a misreported rumor. I don't even know. It was literally just a bold-faced lie. It had not been announced when that article was posted.
Oh shit.
Because the way they announced it, well, used to they called it over the radio and you just found out then. But this year, the whole creative team went around and told each area individually, and they also gave out the Scare of the Year, which was kind of nice. But Scare Zone still got announced over the radio because I wasn't in a Scare Zone. And so when that article went up saying it was Vamp 85, it had not yet even been announced. Like, nobody knew at that point. So whoever said that, I don't want to say it's the wrong publication because that'd be really shady, but the publication that did it literally made that up.
I mean, if they were right, it would have been good for them. So
unfortunately, they weren't.
And it caused a lot of backlash in like the 15 minutes it was right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it did. Well, so did Chucky. Everybody wanted it to be clowns, which is its whole own. Listen, I'm not here to decide who should get what type of award. Congratulations to those who won it. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Cough, Melody. We're literally here to do that. This is a podcast where we judge these things.
No, I'm not saying that. Popularity or how much I like it is one thing, but none of us truly know the criteria for what makes Zone or House of the Year. I'm not privy to that information. Nobody's privy to that information except those who actually do it.
You mean like the actual creative team? Because I do know what I feel like is the criteria for whatever of the year, and it's whatever I like the most. That's my criteria.
Yep.
Exactly. That's why you are not like a show director.
Yeah, and now I'm never get a job at Halloween Horror Nights. Dun dun.
Dun dun. Well, either way, it's I don't know what the actual criteria is for it, but I'm happy for those who won it. I got to watch Stranger Things receive their announcement, and it was beautiful, and they played We Are the Champions, as everybody always does, and they all hugged each other, and I was happy for them, and it made me very nostalgic for 2016, and I'm happy for the people who get to reap the reward.
Yeah. All right, so Cult of Chucky.
Which the reward is nothing.
Revenge of Chucky.
The reward for House of the Week.
Revenge of Chucky.
We're all just talking.
I don't remember anything anymore, and I apologize.
Okay, Chucky. I love Chucky.
Chucky. This
fucking
when I walked into this year, I loved it.
Fucking Chucky.
God.
I called Chucky Daddy, and he told me I was a freak and I should come back more often. So
I did not get roasted by Chucky this year. I somehow avoided his beady little eyes.
His beady little camera.
That literally, yes.
I did, however, we were inducted on the evening when we were all together, and we were inducted by Maypole Bear of all people, so that was fun.
Yes, huzzah, that was great.
That was a really fun interaction. This song was really fun. It brought back, like, I know we speculated when it got announced. We were like, oh, this is giving us some, like, Dollhouse vibes, and it kind of did. I really enjoyed it.
A little bit. It was definitely a lot more campy and lighthearted than Dollhouse ever was.
Yeah.
Like, Dollhouse was genuinely very uncomfortable. But there was, I almost wish Chucky had existed in another year so that it didn't have to compete for camp value with Killer Clowns.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely loved Chucky, and I think it was well suited for Hollywood, and I think it had all the pieces it needed. But I think in terms of how much fun it was, it got completely overshadowed by what might be the most fun Zone of all time.
Yeah.
So, I almost wish like Chucky had been able to shoot its shot, like 2 years down the line. But that sounded really weird. And if Chucky is gonna shoot to thrill, it better be in my direction. Anyways, I don't know. There was a lot of fun stuff. I liked the factory workers. Like I liked that they were all very original characters, and that they were just they were just very open range to do weird stuff. I really liked the one who would go by and say, "Hello, I am Borat," and that was just really funny.
I think there was a lot of really fun, like, range of characters. Like, there were everything felt pretty cohesive, but you had a lot of different kinds of characters in the zone. Like,
I like that.
You had the factory workers, you had Chucky roasting people, like, you had the doctors and the monkeys, like, everything was really cool.
You had the bear that spun around a pole for 45 minutes.
Exactly. Well, there was a lot of, like, also, like, types of costumes. So you look at something like Vamp, everybody is in what would be considered, like, some form of street clothes. But in Chucky, you had everything from big animated costumes, like the monkeys and the bears and the Cabbage Patch doll. I love the monkeys, too. They were glorious. To the really simple factory workers, to puppeteering, to... someone who was basically naked, the baby, like, it was great. There was a lot of... There was just a lot of visual variety, and I appreciated that, especially when you have something like Harvest, which was very visually homogenous. Like, they all pretty much looked... They were all scarecrows or pumpkin boys. And even Twisted Tradition, as much as I'm going to jerk off to that scare zone later in this podcast, going through there, until I'd gone through a couple times, I was not able to remember how many different types of pumpkins there were. I just saw lots of pumpkins.
Yeah, I feel that.
So, yeah, Chucky was a lot of fun. It was cool. And I don't know, people were like, oh, Chucky doesn't swear. This isn't fun. Well, newsflash, it's not the Insult Emporium, and it was never going to be. But I was, like, genuinely surprised and enthused with some of the things that Chucky was able to say and do. Chucky dabbed. Stupendous. Chucky, he learned. Chucky this year was sort of like a Furby. Like, he started out as one thing, and he started communicating with people, and he, like, learned the language, and he learned, the mannerisms, just like a Furby.
I mean, that's a terrifying image. You have to understand that, right? You get that? Like,
there's some horror convention merchandise company that goes to all the conventions. It definitely has a Chucky Furby, and I'm not ready for it.
Chucky Furby. We have to copyright it right now.
Right now. Who makes
if we were the McElroys, I would say we need to register that domain immediately, but we're not.
Anyways, I'm trying to think of other things about the zone. Oh, damn.
I watched the monkey scare a girl until she was on the ground and just
goals
kept her there.
Yeah, that's
it was
great.
amazing.
As it should be. There was also smells in this scare zone and water effects. There was literally everything. They had every element that you could really want. And even like a show. I don't know. It was just very elaborate. It was so much more than I expected. Like, I remember I heard a Chucky scare zone rumored like eons ago, and I was like, what a joke. Like, a Chucky scare zone. And then, whoops, it was great.
Whoops, it was great. Yeah, I was expecting a whole hell of a lot out of it and really enjoyed it. And spent a lot of time there, if only by accident.
Not a bad place to spend a lot of time.
Hey, I had fun. It was great people watching, because you got so many different reactions out of people depending on how they like toys and how they
exactly.
Chucky.
Laughing, running, crying.
I saw a lot of people running and crying through that zone. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I feel it didn't really have a lot of like menace, people were genuinely scared in there.
Yeah,
people really liked it.
I don't think I can say I got a single scare while I was in there ever at any point. Well, I think one time I was having a conversation with good old Twitchy, and when I turned around, the sergeant was right in front of my face. But I'm not sure if I'd count that as a scare or just being really clever, because I just laughed immediately.
Right.
I think it was just really clever, but it was, so I didn't deem that one as scary at all. In fact, I would go on a limb and say, oh no, clowns was the least scary. But it was not really scary at all, but it was so enjoyable. Like, I had a great time every time I went in there. It was real good puppy. Chucky
Puppies.
puppeteering is where I was going. Yes, the puppy chucketeering.
You ripped that straight from my brain hole.
Good. I hope you don't get it back. The Chucky puppeteering was great, and I thought the voice actor was great. And again, I saw a lot of people nitpicking. Oh, it sounds more like this. It sounds more like this. Please, you find me another trained puppeteer in the Central Florida area that can do that accurate of an impression of Chucky while also completely improving.
Yeah. Yep.
Props. Give that man a boo buck.
I thought he did really well.
Probably the scariest thing that ever happened with Chucky was when I was talking with one of the voice actors, and he just dropped into the voice in the outside of the zone, and he just dropped into the voice mid conversation, and it was really disturbing.
That
That's
sounds
terrifying.
Amazing.
Could you imagine if that happened when he was saying his wedding vows?
Yes.
He accidentally became Chucky.
That happens to hold.
I would honestly
divorce him immediately.
Absolutely not. I would ask for a blood pact right there for eternal marriage.
Ask for a blood pact for eternal marriage. That's called a wedding vow. That's what marriage is.
Oh, is there always a blood pact at a wedding?
Yeah.
I guess they just don't do it at
sand into a jar, and it's real lame.
Oh, that is, yeah. What if we just pour our blood into a jar together?
Okay.
Would that be? Is that good for you?
The four of us is like the sisterhood of the traveling blood jar. Right now, I'm gonna go get a jar right now.
We're gonna rename our podcast to that. Listen, Connie, you might be a freak, but I'm not willing to just pour my blood into a jar. Okay, I will happily vomit into the jar, though.
I have an empty Alfredo jar right here. I could just send it around.
Okay,
what if your fluids in there?
I'm sure UPS will appreciate that.
We each do our own fluid, and honestly, the fact that our HHN 28 wrap up has divulged into what fluid would you put in the love jar?
Oh my god! Put that as a poll, Darcy. Poll it right now. What fluid would you put in the love jar?
No.
Darcy, in retrospect, flowers lame. Should have put a jar of fluid.
You guys, we gotta get back on track.
We can't. Illegal.
Okay.
I'm
forcing us to move
You're
on.
right, Connie. That would have been illegal.
You guys, we have to do this.
What else do we have to say about Chucky? It was great. I really like the projections.
Monkeys. I like the
It was
monkey.
a monkey sound.
We're gonna move on to Twisted Tradition.
Oh,
okay.
Nut. Yeah, pretty much.
Nut.
You're right.
Listen, the spooky chapel alone makes this.
I mean, can you even look at all those boys? Teeth boys, glow boys, big boys, small boys, melt boys, pumpkin boys, birth being given, lady birth, pumpkin lady. 80s.
There was virgin boy, slut boy, Chad boy, and nerd boy as well.
No, the tone was. I hope
Chad boy.
I will say this about Twisted Tradition. You have to kind of go looking for that storyline.
Oh yeah, completely agree.
Oh,
and it wasn't until people went looking that they found, but did they find?
Oh yeah.
It was listen. I've done a lot of ruminating on this topic at this point. Do you know what I've done since Horror Nights? Been sad, and that's it.
I'm laughing at your pain.
Thank you. I need it. I've had a lot of bad shit going on for anyone who knows about my personal life, and so I've been filling my brain with happy thoughts. And the more I've thought about it, the more that Twisted Tradition is absolutely my favorite scare zone ever to be in that location, and my favorite scare zone of this year. Not of all time, but damn, it is high. It might be my number 2 or 3. I cannot express how much I loved Twisted Tradition.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was amazing.
Yes.
It was so much. I already expected to like it, but I never could have dreamed that the story would be as deep as it was, that we would get a set piece as grandiose as that church.
Oh yeah. That we would get a zone with a fully original score.
Exactly. It was so extra. This was the most extra scare zone in the sense that it did not need to be everything that it was, but it was. And that's why I like Horror Nights in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even the little pieces that were in the actual park, once you got into the trees, the setups and the crows and the lady coming out of the skin. Those were all pretty elaborate too. They were beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
And Carrie time, which is so wonderful. Always a fan. Go back to Carrie.
Let's go back to Cary right now.
Yeah.
I would really like to visit the actual Cary, Ohio someday. It's amazing.
Me too.
Can you believe that Cary, Ohio has an incredibly small tourism industry based solely on absolute weirdos who really like Halloween Horror Nights?
I mean, that was
Yep.
absolutely bizarre.
Tell me anyone who has ever gone there intentionally, except people with family members there, people moving there for jobs, or people who are passing in that direction who love Halloween Horror Nights.
And people who live there probably don't attend Halloween Horror Nights often.
Exactly.
So they're just like, some freaks in Florida and Hollywood really love this
I don't
thing.
think Hollywood has ever referenced Cary, Ohio.
Well, then they are missing out, and also I didn't research anything.
It's fine. Hollywood, on the few times that they've tackled anything even remotely original, they tend to center it around the park itself. So, like, Hollywood Harry was, like, born out of Universal Studios. When the director was there in 2006, he was, like, working at Universal Studios. So, they really push, like, the movie studio thing. And they don't acknowledge middle America like they should.
But politics. But we
Tag
need
John Murdy. John Murdy, what do you have against middle America?
What if he's, I don't know what I was going to say, a Middle East vampire trying to hide his background by completely eradicating the Middle East, or not the Middle East, Midwest? I messed this up.
Connie, you started going somewhere and it derailed really quickly. And if you need me to call an ambulance, I can do that for you.
What if I just had a seizure on air? That'd be amazing.
The views would be amazing.
Turn your camera on and show us.
This would be the first podcast we would monetize to make money off your seizure.
Yes.
I know, right? I is enterprising.
Get me seizures. I'm
terrible.
sorry.
Let's
I'm
talk
joking.
about Twisted Tradition, where there were no seizures. Although one time I was leaving at the end of the night and I saw a girl dead passed out on her face, and she was surrounded by, like, medical, and her boyfriend was like, "Sarah, we gotta go." And I was like, Sarah's dead.
I hope she was not.
Sarah she's bury her by the church, because she was just passed out drunk, but, like,
please bury me by the church.
It's gone.
Okay, so anyway, Twisted Tradition. I like
Should
how
we tell the story for anyone who's listening to this who might not know, even though, of course, if you're listening to this, you probably know in the first place.
Well, it depends on what story you're referencing. But yes, I'm going to just say yes.
The story. Let's talk about Gone with the Wind.
I thought you were going to say, like, a story of, like, what happened when we went to the zone, or the story based on the zone.
What happened to us in the zone is that it was fucking awesome. But the story of the scare zone is that a group of Scooby-Doo gang-esque kids crashed their truck into a church, releasing ancient evil spirits into a pumpkin patch, bringing them to life. They are now antagonizing said teenagers who really just need a mechanic.
I mean, I thought you were going to say, like,
I love It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Oh my god.
These new gritty reboots are getting out of hand.
They really are.
Oh my god. I love how all the twitchy pumpkin boys had different personalities. I think there were some really fun, like, character designs in this zone.
Yes, both character designs and character acting. They were just, like, they were all genuinely different. Like, all the pumpkins behaved differently. Some of them were really, like, I can only describe it, slinky, and then there were some that were just, like, really aggressive, and it was cool. Like, there was a lot of variety. It wasn't like, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, Lair the Banshee. I really liked that scare zone, but I felt like everyone sort of had the same, like, flowy, mystical aspect about them. Which made sense for that scare zone. But I just liked that the pumpkin boys had a lot of variety, both in their looks and in their behavior.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think my MVP for this one was Baghead Girl. I thought it was really cool. I loved the light up pumpkin men and the light up.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that before, and I really loved it.
Yeah, that one glowing one was so, like, that was such a beautiful design.
Yeah.
I can't. Like, the ones in Harvest were also lit from the inside, and I really liked how that looked. But those UV lights and just that glowing, it was so otherworldly. It was, and in that zone, more than any other zone, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Like, no lie, might be the single most beautiful still design I've ever seen. I can't think of one that I like more than that.
That's fair. It was gorgeous.
I really can't. I really hope they find some way to bring that back. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of my favorite street costume from 2016, the diving suit guy.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
The light
it
on
reminded me of that. And I remember how
Mhm.
blown away I was by his makeup and the UV lights and everything. So I don't know, man. Putting UV lights inside spherical shapes on people's heads, good choice.
Good, very good choice.
It always works for me. Hey, it always gets. If that don't light fire, your wood is wet.
But I really loved the Carrie victims out in the front. They were so fun. I had every interaction I ever had with them was memorable and fun. And man, I am so sorry, Chad. I just don't know how to get a hold of Vin Diesel to fix your truck.
Oh my god.
Me and Shelby had an extremely lengthy interaction with literally the whole grade. It started with the nerd, and he was like, "Can you help?" And I was like, "What can I do for you?" I was so drunk. And he was like, our truck, it's broken. And I said, bruh, there's mechanics right across the lagoon. Go get Vin Diesel. And he said, I don't know Vin Diesel. What does he look like? I said, man, he's jacked. And then he said, oh, maybe Chad will know. Chad, do you know Vin Diesel? And it just kept escalating. And eventually we were standing in a circle with the whole group arguing over how to go across the lagoon to get Vin Diesel. And then someone was like, we got to sacrifice the virgin. And everyone looked at the nerd. And he was like, oh, I'm not a virgin. And I was like, are you sure? And it was good. It was great. It was like so wonderful. It was such a great lengthy interaction. They all were perfectly in character. They looked great in their parts. I really liked Chad's wig, a personal preference, but it was a good choice.
I
really can't say enough good things about this episode. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I once, they have like their spiels, and once the nerd said to, I think it was with Victor. I could be wrong about that, but
aww.
Yeah, he said he's like, they're after me, they're gonna get me, help! And I was like, have you tried just talking to them? And he's like, no. And I was like, well, go try. And he went over to one of the melty head guys and asked if he would leave, and the guy shook his head, and the nerd came back and he was like, no.
That is so funny. That is amazing. I absolutely love that. Also, very, very deeply personal connection to the scare zone. But let's just say that for the last 3 weeks of the event, oh, you not man enough for my Mindy. Made me very happy. Her legs were fixed.
Miraculously.
Magic.
Thank you, Papa Legba. He fixed his legs.
Yeah, that's what he's called that.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's scoot across the lagoon to killer clowns from outer space.
Wait a minute. When are we going to talk about the chainsaw mechanics?
Never.
I feel real bad because the few times I actually saw one of them get a really amazing scare when I was power walking with Victor to Dead Exposure at the end of one night, and which is a big mood. But one of them, he revved the chainsaw and he scared this girl, and she yeeted her water bottle right up in the air. And she ran over by Lombards, and the guy picked up the water bottle. He's like, "You want it? You gotta come and get it." And he was like, she was literally crouched on the ground, and she's like, "I want my water bottle," and he's like revving his chainsaw. And he's like, "You just gotta grab it," and it was so funny.
That's amazing.
I mean, I was like, you know what? They're working their space, which was nothing, but nothing, and they definitely got scares. I mean, chainsaws scare people. I just didn't spend any time over there.
I think the only time I saw these guys was when I was getting a salad with Connie.
Yeah. Is it not Fast and Furious, the scare zone? It's just like car mechanics.
It's the fam.
Yeah.
It was the fam.
See, you met my family. Could you imagine if Vin Diesel said that?
It's like one of the triggers of his own.
Okay.
Carnival Graveyard accepts earnestly as Vin Diesel.
Carnival Graveyard supercharged.
No.
You're riding in really fast bumper cars.
Just really fast bumper cars.
Yes.
Wait, I was riding in a wheelchair. Does that count?
Well, oh yeah, that's right. You did experience Carnival Graveyard the ride.
We'll get there when we talk about the houses, but I literally felt like I was on the best dark rides because Connie was totally moving into things. Sometimes better. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Especially
we'll get to that when we get to the houses, but it was a very interesting and kind of fun experience to go through some of the houses with someone in a wheelchair, because I have such a wonderful relationship with guests who come through in wheelchairs.
I have to say, I felt very loved by a lot of the actors. They really do go for it when you're down there.
Scare the chair. Listen,
it was great.
Any variety is great, and a wheelchair is definitely variety. So,
get down low.
Let's talk about our beautiful clown boys.
Yes.
Get me clowns.
Killer clown. Wow, wow, wow.
Oh my God, to our viewers, there is a video of me, Connie, and Melody having a dance party
with Jumbo.
With Jumbo.
Yes.
With Jumbo.
And it is one of my favorite memories of my life.
Yeah, that was I
love that video.
Every time I see that video, I just smile so big.
Yeah, that I had a lot of fun that night in the zone. Do you remember when the power went out?
Yes. And I had my phone out and I was playing the Killer Clowns.
Yes.
They were very happy about that. That was also, we took a selfie with a security guard because like he said something like nobody ever wants to take pictures with me. And I was like, "Oh, you're doing great, sweetie."
Where did we ever post that photo?
No, we didn't. It's on my phone.
Throw it on the thing.
Yeah, honestly, that's very on brand with us, just taking pictures with security guards at Horror Nights who hold flashlights.
Yes, they're the real MVPs.
No, really, I was really worried though because the visibility in those costumes has to be like total shit. So,
it wasn't as bad as some people thought. It was really bad when they added those super bright white lights for like one day. And then they got rid of those lights because they made the visibility so much worse. But the way the lighting was in the zone, it apparently it was not as bad as people were worried it was going to be.
I have to say, when we went in there when it was dark, it wasn't too bad. Like visibility.
No. Yeah, but yeah, that's anyways, away from just talking about when the lights went out, the zone was great. It was fun. It was shenanigans, the scare zone.
Oh yeah.
God,
as someone who we all know is very fond of campy aliens.
Yes.
I very much liked this.
Yes, I had only ever seen bits and pieces of the movie before, and then I watched the movie obviously in prep for Horror Nights, as we all do, and I really liked it. I had a hard time visualizing how it was going to translate, and then when it basically was like, oh, just be goofy, I'm like, you know what, this is perfect. Even though in the movie the clowns aren't actually that silly, they just sort of walk around, but like it's it was they did so great in the zone, and they were so smart to have at least 2 human faces in there. It really added a lot of speed and animation. 3, but I said at least 2.
Okay.
Sometimes they weren't always all 3 there.
I mean, I cannot forget the day where I went in there for the dance party and it had rained, so there were no clowns, and there was also no Debbie, so the late night dance party was just the Terenzi brothers.
Just the Terenzi brothers.
It was amazing.
I have to say, though, it's so hard to get attention when you're not a literal like 8-foot clown. Those human actors crushing it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those Terenzi brothers. I literally never. I never saw a Terenzi brother who was not running for most of the set. Like literally, they would just run. And I'm like, hot diggity. That's exhausting. Props to you. And
they did a great job.
Yeah, everyone was really funny.
It was and the smoke bubbles and the music in the zone, just the technical elements were so there.
Yeah, it was like it didn't have to be all of that, but it was, and that's why Horror Nights is the greatest of all time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the show.
It was wonderful, and it was so rewarding, like throughout the season when the various creators of the movie came to see the zone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember that. I was in the zone when the Kyoto brothers were in there, and they stood there in the zone for an hour and a half.
And I don't blame them.
Boys.
So happy.
Could you imagine making like a shitty low budget movie and then 30 years later it's one of the most popular things at the most popular Halloween event in the world?
Now I'm going to rewrite that for you. Can you imagine making an absolute wonderful masterpiece that everyone thinks is a shitty campy movie for 30 years, and then everyone finally realizes it's a wonderful masterpiece at one of the highest paid Halloween events in the world? Masterpiece.
That is honestly a good point.
That is an excellent point. I do think it's a great movie, and I do think a lot of people, including myself, would not have properly discovered that movie nor its incredible soundtrack
I would
without
not
the
without
the zone. I'd heard
so
of it, and I
good.
knew people wanted it at Horror Nights, and eventually I would have watched it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It was wonderful. That
It
was such a fun
was.
scare zone.
Yeah. And the attention to detail in there was
Oh.
crazy. Like, I remember there was one day that was the same day that the Kyoto brothers were there. So they were probably showing off. But I remembered commenting to Shelby, you know what I haven't seen done that was my favorite part of the movie? Rudy in front of the convenience store mimicking the animatronic. And then literally 10 minutes later, Rudy is standing in front of me and starts doing it.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments where it was very obvious that they had all watched the movie really carefully, which, you know, in my opinion, if you are blessed with being cast in an IP, not necessarily blessed, but if you are cast in an IP, you are blessed with backstory and source material to base what you're doing off of.
Yeah.
Now, granted, on the flip side, when you're in an original, you're blessed with your own creativity, and that's a lot of fun too. But it is really fun to recreate something, and I never saw anyone in that zone doing it wrong, if that makes sense.
No,
I never saw anyone blatantly like disrespect the brand. I'm sure it happened once in a while.
I did once. I will not name names, but I did see once. It was a Terenzi.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Listen, that was a personal interaction, and it was hilarious.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a different Terenzi.
Oh, well, I had a personal interaction with a Terenzi that was hysterical, and I will absolutely not talk about here.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But needless to say, he had another kissy mark when I was done. I'm just kidding. That's not what it was at all.
My final thought on this one is I really was stunned by the interactivity that non-speaking characters had.
Absolutely.
They really made a lot of really personal interactions with people despite not being able to speak, and I thought that was really awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Though I will say,
I loved that.
I think I personally missed out on a lot of that because I'm like really shitty at charades, and I love that it's my favorite zone. It's my favorite zone. Seriously, my favorite zone of the year. I loved it so much. It was beautiful. All of the acting was amazing. It was hilarious. Everyone was really into their roles. The balloon animals. Well, dog boy, good dog boy. But I could not communicate with any of them. I was watching people talk to them like through charades, and I was like, shit, man. Connie, get your game up. My game not good.
We'll work on it, Connie. We'll start playing charades together.
Thank you.
We gotta try for next year.
I feel like
practice.
Connie, when we do things like this together, I become like the translator.
That's true.
Because I feel like I'm pretty good at charading with like costume scare actors.
You're really good at feeding other interactions with scare actors. Like you would get them to do cool shit.
Yeah.
That is quite literally what I live for. Like when I go to Horror Nights or anywhere, like Connie could vouch for me at Screamageddon or at Halloween.
Yeah.
Like I exist to hype these motherfuckers up because I love what they're doing. And most people disrespect the shit out of them. So it just makes me happy to make them happy. Like that, it's like a back and forth. Like I'm just having a precious, emotional, spooky circle jerk with every scare actor I
do. You cannot start with spiritual and end with circle jerk. Listen.
Listen, English major. I can put words in whatever order I want.
Yeah, well, you're right. Guess.
Okay. But anyways, yeah. So the scare zone was a lot of fun, and interactions were great. Even if maybe you weren't necessarily part of it, it was fun to watch other people have them. I remember I really loved when Connie and Victor did the live stream on the Mistresses Instagram. Nifty plug. I loved watching that. Like that was so genuinely hilarious. Just watching the clowns do stuff and listening to y'all's quiet commentary.
I want to just live in there. I really want to live in the zone.
That was a zone
too. It was also another quick little like technical thing. We mentioned the lighting quickly, but I number one was not expecting the zone to be blacklit at all, but I'm glad that it was, and I'm glad that it was like, the black light place. I'm glad that the shirt was black light too. I think that was a cute touch.
Yeah.
But I loved that it switched between the two. It was not just black light and it was not just regular, mostly yellow lights. It was I like that it switched between the two, and again, it gave it a lot of like visual dynamic from minute to minute. And I also like that they played the Killer Clowns song a lot.
So much.
Yes.
We always got a chance to hear.
I never got sick of it.
No.
Nope.
Never. Unlike something we're about to talk about. So let's talk about Vamp 85.
Shoot the thrill!
I would like to preface this section of the podcast with a little editorial note here.
Ooh.
Everything at this year's event was fabulous. Everything at this year's event, if put in some years from the past, would have been Street or House of the Year. They were all fun. I never had a bad time anywhere in the park.
I think
Agreed.
28 is one of
Vamp 85
definitely is the
scare zones, and that's that.
What was that?
Vamp 85 was the weakest of the scare zones, and that's that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, mechanics?
I was about to say,
No, the mechanics were family.
The thing is, Vamp had a lot going for it, but I think the premise alone, number one, was a little bit limiting to the scare actors. Especially like, you know, when you're a party going victim. Like I saw them doing a lot of fun stuff, but I think that's a constraining role in the first place. Like it's a weird mix of emotions you need to be displaying.
Yeah.
It's for all the people who were cast as basically celebrity lookalikes.
Yeah,
they were not necessarily prepared to do that. It's not like they went to the audition saying, I'm here to audition for, you know, I'm just going to throw an example, Prince. I'm not saying he did a bad job in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I really, really, really liked what the Princes did. But I'm just saying, for example, he was the first one that popped into my head. So they didn't show up looking for that. So these people were not necessarily ready, I think, to be celebrity lookalikes, because there were a lot of mannerisms I would have expected out of some of them that I never saw.
And I got a lot of no offense to people of a certain age, and that age being our age, but I'm not sure all of them know how, for example, Pat Benatar acts, or Boy George, or Freddie, you know, like these were.
But actually, I actually think Boy George was probably the most accurate of all of them.
Oh, I'm not saying that personally. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people of our generation just they'd have to go out of their way to do the research to look at like in these roles, which
it's a lot harder. Yeah, and it's a lot harder to imitate a person versus like a character.
Right.
So when they throw at someone like, here you go, be Lucas from Stranger Things. You just have to watch Stranger Things and look at the mannerisms of that character and then do it. But when you're trying to imitate a person, I mean, that's hard. That's a big task to throw in someone's lap. And I don't necessarily think it was the best one to throw in people's lap.
No.
I don't know. There was just like a lot about this zone. Like the show was fun, but it was so loud. I felt like Huey Lewis at the beginning of Back to the Future when he's like, it's just too loud, kid. That was me.
No, yeah, it was insane.
It was so loud, and it limited the interaction. If the show was going on, even if you were at the other end of the street, you couldn't talk to anybody, and even just the normal soundtrack felt very loud, and it was really hard to get good interactions. And also, I think putting a zone that should have been about the interactions in New York is inherently limiting. Because the New York scare zone is always known for being chaotic and scary, which works well for The Purge. It worked great for Survive or Die. But this should have been about the talking, and it was not about the talking. It was about the scaring.
That's the big problem.
It's hard to be scary when you're in like gold pants. You know, it's.
Well, and I think other people have touched on this. In particular, our good friend Shelby. When Vamp 55 was a thing, you had the different factions kind of fighting each other.
Yeah,
your band kids and your greasers, and there was no there were a bunch of different aesthetics in 85, and they were all like really fun to look at and stuff.
But they weren't defined
with each other,
and they weren't interacting with each other. It's like, you know, I don't know. I understand it was like supposed to be a New Year's Eve event in New York City, so that's why all the celebrities are there. But also, why are all the celebrities there? Also, I would like to point out that Victor and I Googled and watched a 3-hour video of the actual New Year's Eve celebration in New York City in 1984.
Oh my God.
And where were the bagpipes? There was a huge segment where a bunch of people playing bagpipes.
Yes, that's obviously the only thing that zone was missing.
This is my only gripe. But at the same time, I feel like we're just criticizing a lot. The costume design was great, and there were some characters, specifically among the punks, who were like really going in on the scare factor. Yeah. They were like there to actually murder people. And there was some great intensity among some of them. But then some of the characters just didn't lend themselves to the intensity that you would need to get scares in that area.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It was just like, there was just like a lot of conflicting stuff. that led it to not meeting its potential, which made me sad because the potential made me moist.
I mean, we all wanted more vamps, and it's not that they didn't try, and it's not that you're right.
Not even
There's
that it was
just too much
bad.
happening. Yeah.
It wasn't bad at all.
Mhm.
Listen, we had some fun times in the zone together.
Oh yeah.
Listen, one person listening. Hey, understand what we mean.
Like, me and Johnny were walking through trying to find you guys. And I offered to buy Connie's glasses.
For cocaine. A kilo of cocaine for my glasses, my prescription glasses that I need to see.
Worth it. You could,
so of course I said yes.
Do you know how many more glasses you could buy with a kilo of cocaine?
I mean, he also tried to sell me his mixtape, which he admitted was also cocaine.
Well, that's my favorite mixtape.
Yeah, he said, when in Rome, do cocaine.
Yeah.
And that's hilarious. And I would have liked more of that out of there, but it was just such a loud, chaotic scares, and it did not lend itself to those little interactions that I think made people so fond of the first incarnation of Vamp.
Yeah.
Although another little praise before I forget about it, I did really like that the different groups had different types of teeth. That was really cute.
Yeah.
And I love that the punks had Nosferatu fangs that were not like sexy little fangs. They were like, I'm Peter from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also just appreciated that because Adam Ant was in the zone. That's that jacket is in What We Do in the Shadows as well.
Oh yeah, you're right. I remember that.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of that. Until that happens. Until it never does.
And of course, you know,
that's why I prefaced it. Like, this was still like a really fun time.
Yeah.
Comparatively to the quality of this year and to its, much hyped predecessor. There were some problems.
Yeah.
Although you can't talk about Vamp 85 without mentioning the glorious duo of Trisha White and the cameraman.
Of course.
That and those are the characters I ended up getting the best interactions out of. Granted, there might have been some personal bias towards that sometimes, but either way, like they were great fun characters that were a lot more talkative than some of the others.
Yeah. They pretty much emulated what Vamp 55 was, and that definitely worked in their favor.
Yeah. And there was some great stuff in the soundtrack too. Maybe a little bit too much Shoot to Thrill.
Maybe too much, 760 too much Shoot to Thrill.
How in the hell did Thriller not get the most amount of play in the zone?
I know.
I don't know, man.
I
would have preferred hearing more Thriller.
Yeah.
What if they'd done Shoot to Thriller?
Gasp. Need it.
Yes.
Who one person listening can make that mixtape on SoundCloud right now? Do it. I need
Blake Braswell, we know you're out there.
Okay, so before we move on from scare zones altogether, let's throw a quick shout out to the Chainsaw Carnies and Simpsons. They were great.
Yeah, they were. I liked them a lot.
We had some fun interactions with them. I got to watch some of you guys at Blumhouse. And
that's right.
Even in broad daylight. So I really enjoyed
the aesthetic choices in that zone sort of confused me a little bit. But the soundtrack,
as well as some of the character choices. Like, I distinctly remember there was a time I walked through that zone, and in the span of 5 minutes, I was yelled at for using 2000 slang in the 1930s, and then literally I walk up the street, and one of them quacks at me and screams, "Aflac, I'm an insurance company."
Fuck.
And I was like, all right.
I sort of think the problem is that they gave them this sort of like dark cabaret, like French mime aesthetic. They behaved like the Chainsaw Clowns of old, which isn't bad because everybody enjoys the Chainsaw Clowns. It just meant that it was a little bit confusing, and I didn't like. I remember distinctly in that one that Dave Solo podcast before that they really hyped up. Oh, the Carnival Graveyard and the Chainsaw Horde are like connected. They're like cousins. They don't refer to each other as cousins, but they didn't even feel like they took place in the same decade. That didn't make any sense to me because that Carnival Graveyard was somewhat timeless, other than like fidget spinners and stuff. But those were Easter eggs, if nothing else. Carnival
fidget spinners and John Mulaney quotes.
It easily could have taken place in the 80s and fit in with the rest of the
Oh,
theme,
yeah.
or it could just be a mythical whatever. It exists in some time
Right.
other than its own.
I actually really love the theory of Carnival Graveyard taking place in the 80s because in the 80s all the nostalgia was for the 50s, so it's even like more layers. I love that.
Layers. Oh man, the Carnival Graveyard, that shit's like Shrek.
All the layers. But we're not there yet.
We'll get there.
About Scare Zone's quality overall before we go on to houses.
Excellent.
I'm so proud. We did it in an hour. We're on great timing here.
We're doing a horrible job. Don't say that.
We are, because we have to talk about 10 houses.
This is great. For not being able to get our shit together over, what did we all laugh about? Never mind. I don't want to bring it back up. We laughed about something for a long time, and we still got it together.
I believe in us.
Yep.
Whatever it is we did.
Alrighty, so yeah, Scare Zones overall, it was great. I never had a bad time in any of them. They were all good this year. Nothing was like super out of place. Everything fit in with everything else, and it felt very cohesive. Overall, Scare Zone soundtracks were incredible this year. Between tons of original music and Harvest, which I would like to point out. There is one song that played in that Scare Zone that, in my opinion, is the single most beautiful piece of music that has ever played at Halloween Horror Nights in the time I've been going. And then the all-original soundtrack in Twisted was great. Please, more original music in the zones. I love it. It makes me so happy to hear something I've never heard before.
Also, please release it.
Yes! I need it.
I need it. Okay.
I need it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Scare Zones this year were hopping, and which was great because, you know, when it was as crowded as it was this year, you spend a lot of time in them. And I think I never had a bad moment in any of them. It was great.
Nope.
All right, so let's move on to the houses this year. Yay!
Yes.
10 houses. Wow, so good.
More houses than ever.
I would like to preface this with a short statement for myself. Hi, I went to Halloween Horror Nights this year, and I had a really good time, but I was really sick for, like, most of it, if not all of it. So not only did I only get to do 3 houses due to Hell Night and sickness, I was also wheelchaired through them.
I like to call it the Haunted Mansion of Halloween Horror Nights. And that's why I kept tipping you backwards.
I would also like to thank Connie for being so generous as to push me.
I'm a strong man, and I want to push things.
Well, yeah, honestly, I have never met someone who is more eager to show off their physical prowess than Constance.
And people who haven't seen me in real life, I'm a chubby girl. I'm not athletic. I'm not thick.
No, she is. No, you're thick, but you're a thick girl who really likes to show off that she can lift things.
I want to lift everything up.
I know. I really wish you could come help me move.
I know. Me too.
Anyways, houses. Where are we starting, Mistress Randy?
I love that. So I actually, because I only got to do 3 houses, but they were amazing and I loved all of them. And I've rewatched footage today of all of them. I've paced it so like beginning, middle, and end are the ones we all went through together.
Okay.
Perfect.
Y'all know what we're gonna end on. It's real obvious. But but I would like to say, going through these houses in a wheelchair was a really fun experience. I've never done that to a haunted house, and I got to see lots of little things. And thank you to all the scare actors who scared the chair.
Yes, scare the chair.
And by the way, if you guys wonder how that worked, if you are not feeling well or you're pregnant or something, you can get a wheelchair to go through the houses and the queue line in for like absolutely free.
Just bring it back. And you just need to
bring it back.
Yes, just bring it back. They're gonna tell you, please bring it back. But yeah, they're really good about that kind of thing. When my mom attended Horror Nights a couple years ago, she had to transfer from an ECV into a wheelchair for the houses. And one time they didn't have one immediately available. They had to wait about 10 minutes. And they ended up giving my parents a couple of free express passes for it. So it was, they're very accommodating towards disabilities as much as they can be.
Yeah, I probably could have walked through the houses, but the lines would have been another story with all the exhaustion going on. So it really is if you want to make the most of a vacation when you're as ill as I was, and I was pretty sick, those wheelchairs are a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
I was amazing and hire houses with me, I really was.
Yeah, and then just hire me to push you around, and I'll do it and give you money.
And Connie can also give you a tour.
Houses. It'd be amazing.
Oh my god, the Uber driver of haunted houses.
Connie, Uber driver. I'm changing all my things. I'm gonna change my Twitter bio to the Uber that.
The chauffeur. Also, I will say this: Connie would occasionally bump me into things, which would make it even more fun.
Occasionally, it was a lot. I can't see in the dark, and I kept forgetting that I was like 4 feet more in front of me than I actually was. Like, that was you.
I will also say this: we got to do the wheelchair bypass hallway and seats.
That was interesting.
And it was interesting.
I just never gone in there, and I never would have gone in there had I not been with someone who needed it. So it was kind of cool to see something I normally would not have seen.
Hold on. Somebody just commented Connie's boo for service.
Oh my god.
That's me.
Beautiful. Who said that?
Carnage DeCarlo.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carnage.
Thank you. That's freaking hilarious.
I love it. So wheelchair tangent over. It will probably come up a couple times just because that was my personal experience. But hopefully next year I will be standing to meet all of you.
I still think that I could have pushed you up the tilted floor.
I would have been really flying. They would let you.
That is literally the reason the bypass hallway exists.
Whatever. I could do it.
You would have killed her and probably Bush in the process.
Anyway, speaking of bypass,
you could, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Let's get right into it with Seeds of Extinction.
Wait, was that the first house we did? I thought we did cinema first.
Well, I put Seeds first on our list, so that's
whatever. Oh, that's fine. I don't know why I'm questioning this. I really don't care what order we go in. Seeds of Extinction.
Seeds, so much fun. Really enjoyed it.
I'm a seed.
Yeah. You are Connie. This house was so much better and more interesting than I anticipated.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I remember it being I don't want to say low on my hype list, but I remember all of us saying this is the one I know the least about. And I can't I couldn't even rank it in my hype list because it was
this was my most anticipated house actually. Because I just remembered how well they did last year with camouflaging things in Scarecrow. And I'm like, if they can apply that to this concept, it'll be amazing.
It was such a different type of camouflaging too. It was not, part of me wondered, I remember us having this conversation, if they were just going to recycle the exact same type of thing they did in Scarecrow. But this really was different. I mean, it was basically a boo-hole-less house.
Yeah.
People were just there in the open.
But they were good.
But they weren't in the open. They were the scenery. The people were the boo holes. Amazing.
Honestly, yes.
Boys will be girls and girls will be boys. It's a mad mixed up world.
But people will be the scenery. Bushes will be people.
Plants are alive and bioluminescent sometimes.
I love
nobody. Pandora. Okay.
I mean, I think. No, I thought the bioluminescence section was really smart to kind of mix it up a little bit.
Yeah,
I liked it too. But yeah, so the whole house was just it was neat, and there was a decent amount of visual variety, even though it was all sort of the same. It was all variants of plants scaring you. I liked that there were different masks, and then they had the little hand chirpy chirps.
Yeah,
and then they had the big backpack boys, and
in a similar way to Carnival, I really liked this house just because it was so visual. Again, same with Carnival. Every time I went through, I noticed something different that I hadn't before.
Yeah, yes, there's a lot of things to check out.
I just remember the one I noticed on the unmasking tour. I squatted down in the nursery room, and I'm like, "What the fuck? There's a Figment plushie."
Yep.
Oh my god.
Figment the dragon from Epcot has now made a cameo at Halloween Horror Nights. And if that doesn't make your gosh darn night better, I don't know what does.
It
was so cute. I loved how some friends of mine went through it long before I did, and they said, "Oh, Melody, there's a room with dead babies. You're gonna love it." I'll never forget Gerardo telling me that, and I was like, I just love that that's what I was going to love.
Gerardo for being in this house and being a total doll. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you, Plant Poppy, for existing.
For real. Melody brought this up a couple times on various Twitter ramblings. This house is really quiet. It's really
I like how you just referenced my Twitter ramblings. I feel called out. No, it's fine. Yeah, it was. The sound design was really, really soft until the triggers happened, which were very scary. But there was lots of good dripping sound effects and lots
the
of
wind and rain in this house were so awesome.
Oh, yes. It was such a good it wasn't like the rain at the beginning of Poltergeist, which felt like when a sprinkle begins but it's about to become a huge storm. But it felt more like there were just random leaks in the ceiling above you. Like it was the raindrops were very scattered but big. These are super specific things. But again, it's that extra mile. It's the fact that it was noticeably different that made it so cool.
Of course.
I love the new location. I like the new parade building. It's really far away, but it felt like a soundstage house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was wonderful. There was nothing about it that distinguished it from any soundstage house. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of ceilings, which I always appreciate. I'm a big anyone who's ever gone to a theme park with me knows that I can either ruin or make an attraction by just saying look up at the right time. And throughout pretty much this whole house, you could look up and be pleased with what you were seeing. So
it's pretty immersive. Yeah. Let's see what else I got. Oh, as a wheelchaired person for this house, we had to have an Australian lady help us get in the door.
Yeah, I just couldn't figure out how to get her over that one tiny little bump, and I just kept trying to ram her over it, but apparently that was a bad idea. I don't know.
It was a sign of things to come. Because
do you want to hear how selfish I am though? As that was happening, I was like, oh, thank fuck. All the people ahead of us are going to be so far away. It was great. I was like, great, huge gap. Get stuck longer. I didn't actually think that, but I was kind of happy, like, ooh, there's a big gap now. But also, that was the only time I ever went through Seeds when it was light out. And you want to talk about dark.
It wasn't as bad as Hive, but it was.
No, yeah, it wasn't as bad as Hive, but it was still really dark when you first went in from the sunlight.
Yeah, it's
but
bad.
Yeah, I don't know. There was just so much good about this house.
Yeah.
I usually wear sunglasses when I go into houses anyway because I'm kind of like sensitive to like super intense lights. So I already had them on, and I literally had to take them off to go through this house.
Yeah.
Just things. I don't really do.
It's very casual. This house is. That's a weird way to describe it, but it's a very casual house.
Yeah.
Like, you can just like sit back, relax, scream a little bit, and then it's really pretty. And you meet some friends, and you learn about agriculture.
Like it's what you just described is living with the land at Epcot. Man, I'm so angry that I like. Let's listen to the seeds we all love. Nature's plan will shine above.
Oh my god.
I will say this about Cisco. It was the one I felt the most generally unnerved in because of the silence.
Yes.
Like, as much as we talk about it being chill, like, of all the houses we went into, this was, and we didn't do like the scariest ones, I don't think.
Seeds was up there for me though.
Oh yeah, same.
One of the best scares I got the entire run was my very last run of Seeds, and I was crying. And I was going through completely by myself. Come on, trees. Come on, plants. Come on, other kind of grass. And I was just crying and quoting the Laganja video.
Amazing.
Which apparently is like a thing I became, I don't want to say like known for, but the cast was aware that I was the person who liked to do that. Ooh, scary.
Oh, yeah. I was doing that in the chair, too.
Spooky.
Like, I would scream and laugh, and then I would go, come on, trees.
Exactly. So, like, I was going through doing that, and I was doing that so violently that I just forgot where one of the little chirpy hands was, and it popped right in front of my face. And it was just me. There's nobody, there was someone behind me, but there's nobody in front of me. And I, like, flew to the side of the room. It was a really good scare. Not as good as when I spent about a full minute in a boo hole with a bush and ended up in a totally different place in line when I came out. But that's a different story.
I mean, that
Melanie,
sounds like an amazing.
You described the 8 minutes that was my second to last run of Carnival.
Oh my god!
So many confused people that were like, "Why is this person being shoved in front of me?"
Oh, magical! But anyways,
we'll get to that later.
We'll get to Carnival. Is going to be. We need a whole episode for Carnival.
Probably.
Maybe we should.
But yeah, so Seeds I thought was magical. One of the it's so difficult to even say like one of the best houses this year, because not only were they all really good,
everything was
They-
like
but it's
they're
like
okay,
it's
not
like every house
for
this
the
year
best house
succeeded,
this year.
honestly.
Yeah.
But every house was good at a different thing. Like they didn't even all necessarily feel in the same genre at times, because it like in 27, you know, you could compare like American Horror Story to The Shining, or you could compare like Fallen to Dead Waters. I felt very directly because they were all haunted houses with sort of a similar tone. But this year things were all over the place. Seeds was very innovative and weird for horror nights, and so is That Exposure, and so was Carnival. They were all weird in different ways, and it made everything very satisfying.
Mm.
Things didn't feel repetitive.
Yeah. It's a good way to
It was a really solid lineup this year, and I think the execution of everything was also just as solid. Like, dang, you know, I can't rank anything A because I feel dumb because I didn't do it all, but also because like, why would you? Why would you?
Yeah, it's I never put out like any kind of official ranking because I don't think I could. I definitely know I have a favorite, and I definitely know I have a tie for maybe my second favorite. But everything else is almost completely interchangeable. I liked it all, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
There it is, yeah.
But yeah,
Okay,
Seeds was
so let's
weird
move
and
on
creative,
to,
and they made plants spooky.
Oh,
Spooky plants.
Yeah.
let's move on to Poltergeist.
Good job.
Poltergeist.
You
This
son of a
bitch.
You moved the headstones and you left the bodies, didn't
Right.
you?
Why?
Why?
I'm about to
Wait.
spit in the face of everything we just said and say this might be one of the best IP houses Horror Nights has ever done ever.
I love it so much.
I'm inclined to
All
agree.
dirt, rain, cold, wet. Good.
See, the thing, I actually have a lot more gripes with this house than I think most people did. I don't think it's one of the best IPs they've ever done because so much of the house was nothing like the IP.
That's fair.
That's true.
And for me, as an IP that I relish and cherish and has been as high on my dream list as The Shining was, by the last third of the house did not even remotely resemble the movie in any way. It had the music and it had the sounds. And so by the time I exited the vagina, I was kind of like, well, the rest of this is some house about floating heads and clowns.
You know what? That's a hot take I can understand.
Yeah.
It's a hot take that not a lot of people had. Like, I actually really, I'm about to praise Hollywood.
Get out.
I liked their scene choices, not necessarily execution, but their scene choices more than ours, because I felt like they incorporated more iconic stuff from the movie. I will never, to the end of my life, get over the fact that the living room was not in the house.
Yeah.
The living room with the staircase. To me, that was like a huge drawback because that is such an iconic centerpiece to the movie. And instead, we got black hallways with cool noodle clown arms. And I understand that there's all types of stuff with rights and licensing, and sometimes you can get some scenes and not other scenes. You can get some characters and not other characters. And I understand that those are definitely the things that played into the house being the way it was. But that doesn't change the fact that I can still criticize the final result as someone who really likes the movie.
Totally fair.
But I still loved it, though. It was still my favorite IP this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was the IP I was most bummed I didn't get to do, but that's okay. It was a perfect fit for this year's 80s theme, number one.
Yes.
Yeah. On people's wish lists. I think that the scares were really unique, and as much as like maybe like you didn't enjoy like having less scenes from the movie, I thought the new things they added or like the way they interpreted things was actually pretty fun.
Oh, I thought it was really cool. I just wish I could have had all that plus like the living room and some more stuff from the movie.
Totally understand that. I didn't like the drapey hallway.
The vagina.
Thank you.
That is literally like if you call it anything else, I will not know what you're talking about. It is the vagina.
Thank you. I wasn't sure we were gonna keep with that.
I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't refer to it as that.
Okay, cool.
Yes, vagina. Yes, vagina. Yes.
I think one of my favorite intros that we used was "I'm the falling clown" music without the falling clown.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
There was something that one of the clowns did to me. God, why can't I remember anything? One thing, I was with my mom. No, I was with my mom. One of the creepy clowns that was by themselves, like, popped out. My mom was not looking at them, and like she just literally just walked right past without noticing they were even in front of her. Like in front of her, she was just like looking at something else, and he made like a sad like shoulders like aw.
Oh. He just wants to be noticed.
He just wants to get some good scurrying done.
I also
Notice me, senpai.
That I didn't smell the mildew smell in this house.
Mildew. I love the mildew smell so much.
Me too.
It's the best.
The mildew smell to me might be the most iconic Horror Nights smell.
Absolutely.
In my personal opinion.
That's my personal opinion too. Damn.
They use it so often and they use it so effectively that like, oh, it's just wonderful. I really, okay, so even though this technically wasn't in the movie, but kind of was, the opening with all the underground stuff, that was my favorite like expanded universe aspect of the house.
I love
this
that
year.
so much.
It was so good. It was one of the scariest areas of any house the entire event.
Yeah.
Like it was those like them spooky, scary, skinny boys got some good scares.
Spooky,
I went through that house quite a bit, and the last time I went through, it got me so good.
Yep.
Partly because it was so cold outside, and so it had rained, and it was cold, so it was humid, and the fog was just
so thick. Oh my god, yes. I would go through on those cold nights. I went through Poltergeist quite a few on those few cold nights towards the end, and it was so foggy. You were blind. And especially if you were going through right at the end of the night and there weren't that many people around you. You were just there's not human bodies to keep the fog moving, so it just settles, and it's so thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. And I loved it. There were some great scares. Shout out to the hands. See me with the hands. See me with the hands. People at the party.
I would like to think this. I think this facade is the most underrated this year.
Oh yes, that facade was unbelievable. What a
so
unique
good
interpretation. And also, you know, again, I gripe with like the scene choice, but I loved the concept of living the movie from the finale backwards. That was a very unique take on it, and I liked that. Like, I don't know, there was some good abstract going on there and some bad abstract, in my opinion.
I think this is the best usage of the abstract besides like The Shining.
Yeah, I think The Shining did it better, but I think the movie The Shining is more like weird and trippy than Poltergeist, which is really a very literal storyline.
For sure.
Which is part of why the weird interpretation was so confusing to me, because the movie is so literal. It has a very distinct plot. It has lore. It has, you know,
pretty straightforward.
It's a very straightforward spooky movie. But I still, that facade was unreal. I mean, every single time I went in there, not only was, you know, "You son of a bitch" the most iconic quote of the year, but just even little things, the hose coming down on the right hand side. I don't know. It was everyone talks about the rain and the wind, but the rain and the wind was great, and it just the lights flashing inside the house. It was perfect.
That facade is buck wild amazing. Yeah. Any last thoughts on Poltergeist?
What
was that?
What?
Any last thoughts on Poltergeist?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, man. I really loved. Shout out to Sirloin.
Yes. The true scare actor of the year.
I love that
Sirloin.
I really did like the peely face man scare. I think that was a perfect use of a mirror scare because it's a mirror in the movie.
Right. I think that was cool too.
My only gripe is that on the outside part of the mirror where the scare actor was, there was like a bottle of Windex, but on the inside of the mirror there was not one.
Oh my god.
These are extremely. Oh my god! Yeah, that, and then I don't know. I think I've already said this, but I really like the vagina. That was
my favorite bit.
You know, I was born via C-section, so I got to live something I've never experienced.
I mean, the question is, why do we call it a vagina though, and not like the birth canal or something?
I mean, because birth canal is taken by. Do you remember at Screamageddon in the clown house, that squishy wall that you had to squeeze through?
Yeah.
Normally,
right.
I call those birth canals.
All right.
This was much more like vaginal,
loosey, flowy, very mystical, kind of like a new agey vagina.
Yes, with very fashionable sperm ghosts.
True.
Walk, fashion sperm ghost.
This is
also Tangina. She was iconic.
Those things that you call birth canals, some people call them bladders too. So just more things.
Oh, those, yeah.
Ugh.
I call it a birth canal. I don't know, man. I'm a woman and everything.
Right, I like birth canal better. It's more funny to me.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to dead exposure.
Scary,
Nuts.
super scary.
I would like to preface by saying the scariest part of that house was that they used monkey noises that were the exact same ones they used in Terror Tunes.
We
Oh
did
my
get our
God.
Terror house. We're just telling the future here on this podcast all the time.
Come on,
Listen,
Horror Nights.
we've had Killer Clowns.
Terror
Terror
Tunes.
Tunes is next. We need
3D
more
house.
alliteration.
I
Alliteration.
will get my ass in shape to pass a fitness test, and I will play every single character in that house if it means that it will happen.
I let 2 people in at a time, and Darcy just runs through all the boo holes
Yes.
5 seconds before everyone in the house gets
Slapping on different fur character heads, switching between Dr. Carnage and Max Assassin.
That's literally what I said during Stranger Things Day. I was like, open up Carnival Graveyard. I will play every role.
Every single character.
Every single character. I know every trigger.
Dead exposure.
But
Hook
Dead
yourself
exposure.
onto
Oh my
the
God.
bungees and be the robot clown, damn it.
I am fucking ready. Anyway, no, we'll get to Carnival Graveyard.
We will get there.
We have referenced and talked about Carnival Graveyard in every other segment so far.
That's how you know we're freaks.
I guess.
We
So
clown
anyways,
freaks.
Agreed. Clown dick. Anyways, dead exposure.
I'm not
Dead exposure.
not again.
Let's talk about zombie dick and not clown dick. I loved Okay, so Dead Exposure was my least anticipated original. Again, not because I thought it was going to be bad, but because the concept of zombies as a general rule does not appeal to me, and I did not experience the original Dead Exposure, so I had no point of reference for the visual style of this house.
It's,
I went into it, and I know everyone has referenced this, but the bop that played at the entrance, loved it. And again, everyone has read, well, not everyone, but you guys have read my endless Twitter ramblings about this house. I think I wrote the most about this house.
I think you did
But
too.
it just blew me away in every category that I did not expect it to. Like, even just the entrance, that bright light mixed with the fog, which is supposed to represent the medicine or the vaccine or whatever. I have never done something at Horror Nights that gave me any level of genuine anxiety upon entering, and I'm not counting like my first house ever. Of course I was scared for that, but like there was so much good tension building and storytelling happening before you even went in the house.
I'm nodding really hard right now.
I completely believe you. It was like I'm sure the general masses had no idea what was going on, but anyone who paid any attention, everything you needed to know was right there. The audio was in French, the signs were in French. Even
It was
the apps at the
actually
front.
There was
Sorry,
audio
go
in
ahead.
French, English, and Italian.
Well, you know what? I only ever paid attention to the French part. So...
That's because you took French. Get out of here.
Oui.
Baguette.
Oh, a baguette. That was every trigger. But no, like even the ops, at least by the time I went, which was a couple weeks into the event, the ops at the front, they were telling people to keep up with the person ahead of them, but they were building it into the storyline. You are going to, have temporary blindness from this vaccine. You need to keep up with the person ahead of you, or you're going to get lost. And like they incorporated it, and I appreciated that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And yeah, I don't know, man. It was in my opinion a masterpiece of world building and storytelling. Every room in the house made sense with what was going on, and that kind of stuff makes me moist.
I will say this is a house that I saw a lot of mixed reaction to, but I think it depends on how well you handle strobes.
Yeah.
Anyone who said it was bad is wrong.
Yeah, I loved it. I think I'm not going to say it's my favorite house because it was appealing in a way that houses are not usually appealing to me, and that it was genuinely scary to me. I don't really get scared in houses. I get fun shrieks, I get jump scares, but this was scary and also beautiful in French and beignets and berets and baguettes.
It was beignet. See, yeah, it was kind of the same for me at first. It was like it's the first Horror Nights house since the beginning that gave me any real anxiety. But it wasn't so much the jump scares as just my own brain, like going into this headspace of like, what if I really was going blind? What if this is what it looked like? And that idea is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that a lot. I also, I don't know, just the aesthetic of the house, the fact that like I think it looked like a comic book. Everything felt very flat. but in like an appealing way. Flat, but in a way that with the flashing was so trippy, you couldn't always tell what was moving and what wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It was like a 3D house without the 3D. Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, those the shadows of the I guess people silhouettes behind
Yes,
bars.
yes,
all of
so
those.
cool.
God.
Connie,
I
that's
also want to
literally
give.
what I was thinking of when I was saying what I was saying about things looking like they're moving. Every
Yeah.
time I was convinced that was a moving projection, and it wasn't.
No, it was just our brains
Yeah.
going wiggly, wiggly, wiggly.
I also want to give the biggest shout out to all of the actors in this house that had to work in that environment.
Yeah.
Good on you.
See, that was my
Yeah.
original.
I watched the evolution of those scare actors because I think the first time I went was like week 2 or 3. It took me a while to get to the back of the park because I wanted to do the soundstage houses first. But when I went at the end, I consciously was trying to be aware of like, are they coming out in time with the lights? And the answer was yes. Like they definitely understood their timing.
That was
a couple weeks in, and they kept getting better.
Quite a bit of why I didn't like the house originally. It was actually originally at the bottom of my list because I remember they were not good with that timing at the beginning. And so I'd either see no actors or all I'd see was the actors. And I couldn't even pay attention to the set, which I'm a very visually oriented person in haunts. And so that's not being able to distinguish the set is a huge turnoff for me.
Right. And it took me a little bit to see like all the scenes and understand exactly what was going on. But I will literally never forget. And Connie was with me. She'll remember when I first went into the scene with the street corner with the 2-story building.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying to Connie, like, this is fucking amazing. Because I just was not expecting anything that cool. And it was the way it was painted, it was not painted to look realistic. It looked like a comic book.
Yeah.
And it was like you could have slapped ultraviolet comics at the beginning of this house and I would have accepted it.
Oh, that would have been so cool. I thought they were going to do it to trick or treat and then they didn't.
Oh, that would have been cool.
That would have
been. But I don't know. Dead Exposure,
give me my
sound
obscure
design was
references
great.
that no one remembers now.
Everyone loved the subway scene, but I also loved the subway scene.
That one stands out to me when I would look back at footage of it.
Yeah, that was really great. Had a great mirror scare. I also really liked that guy that was dragging like 5 zombies with him. You know what I'm talking about? That was a great scare. That was a really cool effect and could have looked really goofy, but in that lighting was very effective.
Yeah, no, this house is like something that is definitely not my cup of tea because even like if I wasn't sick, I definitely could not have made it through this house just because lights.
Yeah.
But it's really cool and I really enjoy the concept and I think it was a really great addition to this year. Like I think it's really cool.
But see, even with the lights, I was also worried that like, oh, they're just going to be strobing in your eyes the whole time. But almost none of the strobing was directed at the guests.
Yeah.
No. It was directed at the scenery. So the things around you were flashing. But my eyes were not like in pain. The only time that they were was that one scene where like your vision was coming back.
Oh, right before you go into the color room? Yes.
Right, yeah, right before you go into literally the most aesthetically pleasing section of any Horror Nights house I've ever seen.
That's one of my favorite scenes from this year. It's obviously not my favorite, but it is one of my favorites.
Flat white scenery with blood red splatters everywhere. Like that is my favorite horror aesthetic.
That is something that would have been in a 3D house.
Yep.
And I like the one. I mean, like, obviously the waiter was in color, but he was just wearing, like, white with blood. And then the neon pink lady. Can you imagine, like, working in a house where everyone's dressed in black and white, and you are bright pink?
Goals.
The majesty.
I remember, I was talking to a friend of mine in Slaughter Cinema, and he was talking about how it was so funny to watch, because Slaughter and Dead Exposure would go out and cast change at the same time. And Slaughter Cinema is this bizarre mishmash of bright, colorful, completely unconnected costumes, and then you had Dead Exposure mostly in suits, all black and white, and I'm like, damn, that's some classy dichotomy.
All right, any last thoughts on Dead Exposure?
Loved it so much more than I ever imagined I would. It ended up being my second favorite this year, which I never in 1,000 years would have predicted.
I will marry all the zombies.
Please. Merci.
Melcy?
I'll officiate. I'll get certified.
Oh, please. Actually, Connie can. Connie is, she can just marry herself.
I can't actually. That's actually against the law. I can't marry myself.
You know what? I'm making the rules now.
Oh, okay. You're right. You're right. No,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
So
you're
yeah,
right.
Dead Exposure. Dead Exposure. I really liked doing Fortnite dances to the song at the entrance. 10 out of 10.
Okay, well, let's keep chugging here. Next up on our list is Halloween 4.
I like this one a lot. I really did.
I did too. I didn't
I
even
did too.
Now that we have exactly no things to say about it, though,
No, I could say some things. I
well.
know a lot of other people in the various, Horror Nights discourse feeds have said this, but the interpretation of the ambulance in the beginning was really cool. And that Michael always was doing a good job considering he had no boo hole, which is a really hard thing to do in a house. I don't know. There were a lot of good scares. There were a lot of really short Michaels, but I'm not faulting the Michaels for that.
That was, I will fault the Michaels for something though. You stab, tip down, butt up. So many people were stabbing very wrong, and it pissed me off every time. Like one time, a Michael came out at me, got really close, and stabbed. Tip up, butt down. And I was just like, I can't even appreciate this interaction.
I wonder if they got in trouble for accidentally actually stabbing people, and they were like, you guys can't do this anymore.
That's part of where the tip down, butt up thing sort of comes from. So you're not supposed to slash at the guests directly. So if their knife is angled out towards you, technically that's like in a very vague sense against show direction. You should either be stabbing in front of your own face or straight down. Just like any character with a gun, they're supposed to shoot straight up into the air. You don't shoot at the guests. You're shooting around them. I don't know. This just it's just a safety thing. If you're going right at someone's face and they lunge at you, you're going to hit them in the face. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I saw a lot of good Michael stuff. Loved Loomis. Always loved Loomis.
I love Loomis.
Of course.
This
house looked really solid. I just kept forgetting it was on the bill because it got announced last, and it's kind of released.
It was also in a weird location because anything in the Shrek building instantly gets kind of forgotten because it's just awkwardly in the middle.
Yeah, it's not in the soundstage cluster, it's not in the ET cluster, and it's not in the back of the park cluster.
It's just there.
It's just there. So either you do it right at the beginning or you do it right at the end, and sometimes it just gets forgotten.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite Shrek building house. That will always go to
Asylum in Wonderland.
But it's my favorite. It's my second favorite one in that location. I like it significantly more than Krampus, and I really actually did like Saw quite a bit last year. But I got really solid scares in Halloween. And as much as I'm, a scenic slut, sound design slut, all that kind of stuff, I also really just enjoy getting scared. And I got good spooks in there.
I just really like Michael Myers.
My one complaint is, that part where we get like a super, what's the word? Words are bad. The Michael Myers and the Michael Myers in the hospital gown superimposed over top of each other, flashing. Yeah. They were off a little bit, and I hated it. They were not they were like off by inches. And I was like, listen, y'all can't be in the same place at the same time if y'all not in the same place at the same time. Get it together, Michael.
Come on, Michael.
Mike! I just yelled Mike at them when I went past. No one liked it.
Why are you doing this? Actually, one other thing before I forget, and then we're probably almost done with this one. This is the only house this year, and I don't know if this was show direction or if I just got really lucky, but it's the only house I've been through at 28 where the actors were speaking. The inmates, the insane asylum inmates towards the beginning were often actually saying words, which was really cool. And then the guy with the gun who was shooting the Michael coming through the door, like the guy up on the staircase, he was like yelling words. Victor was with me. He could vouch for this, but he was like, "Did I get him? Is he going to come back?" And I was like, "No, of course you got him. How could you shot him in the head?"
But still cool.
It was so funny. Like, he was like, "I think I got him, guys. I swear I've shot him over and over." And it was so funny. And I was living for it. It was a great meta piece of humor. And again, I don't know if they were told to do that or if that guy was just improvising a lot. But the fact that he was heard in the cacophony of a house and what he was saying was really funny.
Great. Hey, I'll admire that.
Really enjoyed. I liked the house. It was not the strongest, but it certainly was not. I mean, I've been through much worse houses at Horror Nights.
Oh yeah,
it was solid. And in a year as stacked as this, that's perfectly good.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to another house that we all got to do together, Slaughter Cinema.
Yes.
Yes, I think we all absolutely adore this house.
I want to be a snack. I want to be eaten by those little triple boobs.
You, girl, you already a snack.
Oh, thank you. Please.
Yeah.
This was the first house we did when we were all together. And it was super fun.
Yes.
And I will always remember it. And I really enjoyed this house. And I love that the fog at the beginning smells like popcorn.
Nice.
That's such a nice touch. Like, this house has so many great, like, it really appeals to all your senses.
It absolutely, without question, has the best Q video I have seen in my time.
Of course.
This is the best video ever.
I will judge everyone and anyone on what their favorite Slaughter Cinema trailer was. And if it's not for Faustus, you're wrong.
Yeah, honestly.
I get the one, okay?
Dr. Faustus! It was so good. That was gold in every way. I sat with my parents and watched that entire trailer loop, and they loved it.
That's so great. So Slaughter, what else? What was I gonna say about this? I had like a really funny thing to say, but I completely forgot. Oh, shout out to Selena in the Shitty Kid section for being so funny.
Yes, the little princess that could.
She was so into it. We just vogued at each other every time I saw her.
It was great. Nothing says 80s 8-year-old like gay modern voguing. But yeah, no, it was so fun, and it was it did I don't know. Normally houses that are just so mishmashed like that feel like that was,
doesn't always work.
Yeah, that was my only big gripe with like Jack Presents, is that if you didn't have any point of context for that stuff, it literally meant nothing.
I thought
it was literally
were done really well.
Yeah, it actually had transitions, which made it work.
It had transitions, and you always knew when you were in the transition because they were consistent with one another, which I think was some people's not issue, but a lot of like, you know, dumb normies who would go through American Horror Story, they didn't understand when the transitions were happening. Yeah, even though I felt like it was unbelievably obvious. But
I feel like that was really obvious.
But some people didn't get it. They didn't realize they transitioned. But I feel like in this house, it was so clear each time, and the fact that they were always saying the title of the movie, you know, shit, kids. Like you always knew where you were going, and it was great. And there literally was not a scene that I didn't like. Like, each one had something very unique about it that I really enjoyed.
Oh, they were all so fun. Like,
if I had to pick a favorite, probably Midnight Snack. Who am I kidding?
Yeah. I liked Midnight Snack. I liked Barber Chop.
I also Barber Chop was my second favorite.
The guy in Barber Chop got so close to the chair.
Oh my god.
Down.
Shout out to Mr. Barber Chop.
And as well as, I think, oh god, what happened? What is one of the first rooms? Someone got really close to me.
Ooh, I don't know, but you know what would get really good scares out of me? Those devil dogs. Especially the second one. It was a really loud trigger, but he had really great timing. I would always get got real good right there.
That was the other room that I loved, was Beast Baby.
Yes.
That was so cool.
Me and Connie got real stuck in there.
I've changed my mind. My favorite might be Daddy.
I love Pumpkin Guts too.
Pumpkin Guts. That room, the smell, and just it was beautifully lit.
I love that one. I love the carved faces. I want to take one home with me. Will they sell me one? Cute. I want one.
Yeah, and I like as close as I was with people in Carnival, the most violent thing that ever happened to me at Horror Nights this year happened in Pumpkin Guts.
Oh, that's right.
Me and Darcy discussed this when we were hanging out, but if you want to relive the Pumpkin Gut smell, the Secret Arts bath bomb from Lush is the
It's unfortunately a Halloween limited edition, but it's popular enough that it'll probably come back, and it smells exactly like that room.
I need it.
The Lush store near my school has it year round.
Oh, interesting. What? I thought it was.
It was a Halloween one originally. I think it's been around for like it's still in there when I went, and all that stuff.
All right.
Yeah, no, but that's just
if you want to be naked in the bathtub thinking about Daddy.
Oh, honey, that's my Friday night, honey.
Okay, so yeah, this was so fun. And we were also, I could be wrong because I was just so excited to finally be in a house. We were fairly alone in this house, I think.
We were.
Very alone. There was like nobody around us.
Might be because of the wheelchair thing.
Yes, in part. But also it had just opened. So
true.
There was not many people getting into the queue because it was back of the park. But yeah, it was, I don't know, like this house, I don't know what else to say other than that it was really fun. Like it was, each scene was different and looked good. None of them stood out as looking like lazy or like, oh, this is where the budget ended or something.
Mm-hmm. They were all amazing, yeah.
Everything was creative and everything was like on brand for the house. Each movie was just as funny a concept as the last. And it was great. Like, I don't know, it's a house that could definitely use a sequel because I feel like anyone who could come up with that many like funny fake 80s movies could probably come up with some more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was great costumes throughout, like a lot. I loved just a lot of good design. Like I really liked the masks in Sorority Sacrifice.
Yeah, the Amazon Cannibals room was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous.
That was my favorite.
I loved that. Slay Queens.
Amazon Cannibals was definitely my fave. I loved it.
Yeah, it was just a really strong comedy house. Probably one of the strongest comedy houses they've done in a long time.
I think it's a contender for like the best.
The new Blood and Guts.
I see it very much as like a spiritual successor to Blood and Guts, being like an anthology movie inspired campy comedy house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
there was definitely a lot of tone going on in there that was similar.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So let's hop into Stranger Things.
Okay, I liked it.
I liked it.
About this,
I think I don't know. For such a big house, it garners a lot of big emotions. People tend to love it or feel disgruntled with it. But I think as a house where you get to see a lot of living rooms and bedrooms and kitchens, I love walking through fake houses, and it gave me a lot of fake houses.
It did, yeah. I remember Connie's first comment of Horror Nights 26 was, man, Krampus was like being in a real house.
Yeah.
She loved it. Like Connie really, that's a big factor for her. And I can appreciate that. And actually, the living room with it was
Joyce.
That was my favorite. Joyce, my favorite room of the house, easily.
I will say,
I loved it.
Someone who paid attention to the technical elements a lot. The lighting in this house was super intense.
Oh, there was a lot. There was a lot of good going on in this house. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. I think the biggest gripe for me is just I'm not that into the source material.
Yeah, that's me as well.
Some people are able to love something without knowing the source material. I know a lot of people said that about like the first American Horror Story.
That was me with The Shining last year.
Yeah, I've never seen this, but like it's still really cool and I can really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen Stranger Things, and I do like Stranger Things, but I don't have a deep, intense connection to it like some people do.
Yeah.
And I know for those people with that connection, it was probably the best house they've ever seen. But for me, it was just a really fantastic interpretation of a thing that I like, with a line that was not worth waiting in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The line was super horrible.
I already knew into this trip that I was probably not going to see Stranger Things no matter what, because I wasn't going to wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. Like I said, there was a lot of good. I liked how the moment you entered the soundstage, you were in the first scene, and then you had the title card come after that, which is exactly how the layout of the episodes are on Netflix. There's a scene, and then the title card, and then the rest of the episode. So I liked that the house was like an incredibly literal interpretation of living in the show.
Yeah, for sure.
That was fun.
I liked this house was actually pretty amazing for what they were able to do.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, the casting was great, which everyone's already said. I don't know. A lot of people cited it as like, oh, it's really pretty, but it's not scary. I actually disagree. There were some really solid Demogorgon scares in there, especially towards the end in the void. Like it was really dark and good scares. Like I thought it had great scares.
I always appreciate anytime you got to see like the upside down Snope. Like I think that was used effectively. everywhere. This
Another
very effective.
underrated, iconic Horror Nights smell.
Yep, absolutely.
Sure.
I really liked that. Although on Stranger Things Day, I tried to pole dance in the lab, and
She slipped.
I slipped and I fell down, and like I was wearing flip flops and my feet were just slipping, and I was like, I'm gonna land on my ass in Stranger Things. This is not the house I want to fall down in. So thankfully I pulled myself up, and I learned to not try to pole dance where there's Snope.
I mean,
that's such a specific thing to learn.
But you know what? I'm never gonna do it again. So it's like when you put your hands on the stove when you're a kid. But yeah, it was
very specific.
I loved the articulated Demogorgon puppets. The meat flower opening and closing was beautiful, very well animated.
The one behind the scrim. Oh,
that was really
great.
That was so detailed.
That was so cool.
That was great. I kind of low-key wish that the 11 actress had been in the classroom and not where she was.
Yeah.
I think it actually would have been way more impactful. I get that they wanted that to be the finale because 11 is like what everybody was there to see.
But she wasn't doing anything. She must have been so bored.
Yes.
Just standing there?
I mean,
like
she
not doing
any
anything?
more bored than the hands.
See me with them hand. Listen,
but even the hands could listen
Netflix.
to music. Yeah. What's she gonna do? Like listen to podcasts with her?
No, because
earbuds?
Her head was fully exposed. And she had to wear earplugs.
She just had to watch people like. I would have gotten a headache having to glare up at people like that
with the strobe. Yeah, no, I agree. Like amazing casting, but a difficult spot with no boo hole again. And I don't know. I feel like it would have been more visually impactful if it had been an actress in the room fighting the Demogorgon rather than the static.
I was about to say, Hollywood actually did that in their house, but it was like a static dummy of 11. So it wasn't cool.
The Demogorgon was an actor, but the 11
was fake, which looked kind of goofy to me.
It really did. I didn't like it.
It should have been the exact opposite. It should have been a live 11 with a fake Demogorgon. That I would have bought. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It was a great house that I just don't have a super deep connection to. So it didn't vibe with me as hard as it would have people who liked it more. But I can objectively appreciate how good it looked.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, that was kind of my note on this. I'm glad that Universal didn't just kind of rest on their laurels, like, oh, we got Stranger Things, we can just put whatever we want in there, and people will still like
someone.
No, they really put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I think they did a pretty solid job to do everything.
I agree. Great soundtrack. I do enjoy the Stranger Things soundtrack. The Stranger Things soundtrack is beautiful. Yes, it was really well used in the house, and I thought the way that the kids were shown was a good way to see them a lot. They weren't scary, which I know is kind of the point, but it was good that they had really long triggers and stuff, so lots of people could see them. And as always, they all killed it. And I have your X-Man 34
at the beginning, walking through the woods.
Yeah. I mean, between Yetis and Stranger Things, a lot of trees this year too.
Yeah, a lot of trees.
I mean, not even counting seeds.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was just trees.
God, you're right. What was I thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. Stranger Things, it was great. I know it'll be back next year. I don't mind it. I felt like it was way, way, way overrepresented on the merchandise.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's those types of outside forces that can affect my opinion of a house. Because the house is objectively amazing, but the fact that I couldn't even buy a team member shirt that didn't have Stranger Things on it made me like the house less by proxy. Yeah. Because I get that. I was overexposed to it. So, but it was, it was great. It was pretty. Yeah.
All right, let's hop over to Scary Tales.
Where's your wizard now?
It's so yummy in my tummy.
Okay, so I would give up the rest of Scary Tales just to have an entire Hansel and Gretel themed house. No offense to everything else.
You would give that up for an entire house of the 3 most stupid triggers in the house.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
You mean 3 most iconic?
You're right.
There were some real iconic triggers this year.
If I were to sum up my feelings on Scary Tales, it is the sum of the parts were not. I'm sorry, that's not what I want to say. The whole was not as good as the parts. I love the pieces of it. I loved each room individually, but my overall impression at the end was, well, it's over.
Talk about speaking of houses that didn't have the best transitions between things.
Oh, no transitions.
Oh yeah, that was a problem here.
None whatsoever. And it's, I don't know, maybe it's because the idea of Scary Tales has been so hyped up to me as someone who'd never been through one of the houses, but it just did not scratch the itch I needed it to. Parts of it did. The facade, which I'm sure anyone can agree with, incredible.
The witches, the witches,
all of them.
Witchy.
Yes.
Yeah, really great witches this year. And there were definitely certain rooms that I was like, oh, this is like totally kick-ass. But like, yeah, I agree as a whole. I'm like, it was a house.
Also, though, shout out to that house being the first house ever to have female stunt scare actors.
Yeah.
And they didn't joke around with it either. They did 2 of them. And so it was cool. Well, it wasn't 2 actresses, it was 2 spots. Which meant
two separate actresses.
Can you imagine? A ton of witches is what it meant. But it was, yeah, I don't know. Like I loved a lot of pieces of it, but the overall thing, I really like houses with a very consistent aesthetic, which is part of why like Dead Exposure scratches my itch so good, because it felt so cohesive. And it just didn't feel cohesive. I get that it was supposed to be like the land of fairy tales, but that just makes me think of Shrek.
Yeah.
And Shrek is pretty scary, but
listen,
not the way I wanted it to be. But like I said, I love parts. Facade was great. Hansel and Gretel room, great.
This is still
really funny triggers.
This
Tastes like candy.
My favorite bit was the mermaids bit, but again, therein lies like a problem with the house because half the people who went through it didn't know it was mermaids.
Nope.
Yeah,
I saw the fish things. Where are the mermaids?
I like the idea of that room. I like the usage of a lot of their stories. I'm not sure that the rooms weren't on par with each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you can't compare the mermaid room with the Rapunzel room, for example.
Yeah.
They are not comparable.
I agree, because the Rapunzel room was so much better.
It was big, it was huge, it was intricate, and then the mermaid room was interactive, but not as detailed.
I'm the same way. The scale was wildly all over the place. You had the facade, which is like one of the biggest and most grandiose things I've ever seen. And then you immediately transition to most of the house being actually quite claustrophobic. I mean, I thought the pig room was very cramped. It was good, but I could barely see what was going on because it was like 2 feet from my face.
Right.
I felt the same. The weird spider room with no actors in it.
What was that supposed to be?
Little Miss Buffett sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey, along with Miss Spider and sat down beside her.
Yes.
And
but shout out to Scary Tales for having a lot of score from Lord of the Rings in it. Lord of the Stranger Things, man, it's coming back.
Oh my god. Once again predicted.
Get Sean Astin to show up and go through Stranger Things next year.
My ring is alive. But yeah, I don't know. Rapunzel room is really cool.
Humpty Dumpty's pretty iconic.
It was, but I don't know. It was just puking egg boys.
I know. Why were they puking egg boys who were ridiculous and didn't even do their normal scare half the time?
Why were they puking, you guys? I gotta know.
Because the smell. Because like Humpty Dumpty had exploded and they were all covered in egg bukkake.
Yes, but like, I was like, I don't mean to sound like a total dummy, but I was real confused. Like, why are there vomit noises? Why is everyone throwing up?
It was just supposed to be because it was so disgusting because they're covered in like exploded raw egg.
And who knows, maybe they accidentally got some Humpty Dumpty in their mouth if like he exploded while they were screaming.
With how much was on their face, there was definitely some in the mouth.
And if I got not only rotten egg but also my commanding officer in my mouth, I would be vomiting too.
That would make me very uncomfortable.
He is like a sentient person for some reason. So
one of my other little gripes with this house was that so much of it has been done before within the Scary Tales franchise. Three Little Bears has been done 3 times now because they did it in 2008, they did it in 2015, and then they did it again this year. Rapunzel, they did it in 2008. What were some of the others? Just a lot of them were stories that they have.
And I mean,
Jack Presents.
Yeah.
Three Little Bears.
I was about to make a connection. Hold on. Right. Path of the Wicked. We all thought at the beginning of the year that it was going to be just Wizard of Oz, which I really would have preferred.
Me too. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite stuff in the house was the beginning and the ending, which was all Oz related. I would have absolutely loved an all Wizard of Oz house. Like, make that Tin Man costume work. Bring the Scarecrow in. I mean, the lion puppet was great. I really liked Dorothy all chained up. Like, it was great. That stuff was really good. Yeah.
Like,
that stuff was great.
Like I said, I still really thought this house was cool, but like we could have had a whole Wizard of Oz house, and I would have loved that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have even gone into like the book instead of just the movie, and had all the weird things that are already kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike the house at all. It just didn't. I don't know, just didn't do it for me.
I liked it a lot.
My house too.
I want to eat the entire Hansel and Gretel room though. Like, no, that witch was off the hook.
Oh, so good.
That's true.
The opening cast witch. Oh my god, the level of extra was just. She was just such a great actress, and again, no boo hole, always on set, always acting, and it just literally never not just being so like, I don't know how to explain it, but just like the way she moved was so animated. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what you get for putting a young body in an old lady face. But
I mean, listen, you're talking to the queen of old lady played by a young lady.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So that's Scary Tales. Let's move on to Blumhouse.
Okay.
The black sheep of the event this year, for sure.
Yep.
Definitely
didn't
fit the bill.
Didn't fit in with the theme. It was something that nobody wanted. But I only did it twice, so I don't have the strongest opinion of it. But I did not dislike it either time that I did it.
Yeah.
No, I thought
it wasn't terrible, but when you put it against 9 other excellent houses,
masterpieces, basically.
Yeah.
And even just pitting it against Blumhouse last year, which I vastly preferred. I genuinely loved Blumhouse last year. It has a really deep, soft spot in my heart. And
I really should have looked at footage of both when I was taking my notes.
Yeah, I almost would have preferred an entire house of one or the other. I actually kind of would have preferred like just First Purge or just Happy Death Day versus a little bit of both.
It is weird to go, I don't know, I almost would have preferred they switched it where you start with the intense purge and then you end on the party house.
Yes.
Happy Death Day was a big party.
That would solve the problems, I think.
Yeah. Right. Instead you get really hyped up and you're like, yeah, I'm dancing. And they're like, oh, and there's machine guns and teddy bears in my face. And now we're out. But that it ended on a living room and I really liked that.
You guys love a living room.
I love a living room so much.
Yeah, I don't have a whole hell of a lot to say about this one. I think Happy Death Day worked better than I thought it would. But yeah, definitely the black sheep this year.
I saw some like cool, weird scare acting in there sometimes. Like people just doing sort of really unexpected, bizarre things, but that were very entertaining, and I like when people break the mold.
Yeah.
One time I went in there and the baby face in the room with the music playing was just doing Fortnite dances.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about, man. That's some good shit. I like that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It just didn't leave as much impact on me. I'm not going to make a 20-tweet thread about Blumhouse the way I did Dead Exposure, because I didn't feel like there was as much to pick apart. It had some decent scares. It had some kind of fun music. It had some interesting set pieces. But overall, it left minimal impression on me, which I can't say for any other house this year, which all left a bigger impression.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I also want to say... I want to beat a dead horse for a minute here. The purge at this event is thoroughly cooked. It's done.
Yeah.
Like, I have been a staunch defender of it being there. I think it can be really fun at events like this. It's done.
It's done. Yeah. I think anything at Horror Nights needs a break sometimes. Even things that are well loved. I mean, in theory, give us American Horror Story forever, but also don't. Like, let it breathe and let it be different each time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Purge. Ooh, she needs a breather, man.
Purge is starting to get Walking Dead fatigue.
Yes. Oh, starting, girl. I think it's
fatigue.
It's had Walking Dead fatigue for a while, but it's getting there.
Like even I was
thankfully though, the Purge has never been as invasive as Walking Dead was to the event.
Yeah. There's never been a whole year of Purge. I'll give you that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Well, there hasn't in Orlando.
True.
Mm.
Blumhouse, definitely the weakest of the bunch, but not
Still a
at
fun
the
time.
fault. Not at the fault of like anyone in particular. I wouldn't blame design. I wouldn't blame the actors. I wouldn't blame anything except the fact that it just didn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
I
it is.
mean, yeah. Whoop, there it is.
Well, there it is. Like
Yeah.
that's all she wrote, guys. Like, I mean, it was just a bad year for it.
Come back next year.
Yeah,
We can do Happy Death Day.
Do we really want Blumhouse to come back this year?
Wait.
After we got the houses that Hollywood did last year, essentially, we got Happy Death Day and Purge.
Oh no!
Do we
So
really
that means we're getting unfriended.
Do we really want Hollywood's Blumhouse next year?
No.
Okay, but I have an idea. You know how like at Disney there's like those dance parties, whatever they're called? But
They're
like
called
a
dance parties.
Happy Death Day dance party in the street. It's not a scare zone, it's just a dance party.
I'm so in. Howl
Oh my
Scream
God.
has random dance parties.
Yes.
Let's do it. I loved it.
Let's
Yeah, I
do
enjoyed
it.
dancing through that room. I'm sure that character absolutely was sick of it, but
I
I
think
enjoyed
Oh,
doing
yeah.
it.
They hated
No, that was
all
the
of
scare
us.
actor that was in the middle of the room doing Fortnite dances. So
Well,
Oh yeah, I'm super into that person, but I also know that a lot of the baby faces were very frequently Fire Crew Reserve, so
yeah.
that very well could have been like a limited time magic Fortnite.
limited time magic Fortnite.
Limited time magic Fortnite. All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's keep it
So,
rolling. Our next on the list, we're almost done. Oh my God, we're really almost done. Trick or treat.
Trick or treat. I loved it. Beautiful. I liked the Sam on a hand.
Yes, me too. Highlight of the house was the Sam puppet.
Sam. And then other things happened in there as well.
It was.
I
I thought it was
think
cute, and I
there
thought
was
it was pretty.
something-
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think this was a really fun house. I really, again, no issues with this at all. Thought it was one of the better IP houses this year. Almost liked it better as a street, honestly.
Yeah.
I absolutely liked it better as a street. I can say that very definitively. And the
I
thing,
didn't ever think
and
I
this
would
is
say that.
the same reason that I liked the street better is the reason that I don't think Killer Clowns would be amazing as a house. Is that the thing that made Killer Clowns and that made Trick or Treat so fun and memorable were the character interactions.
Yeah.
Which you get character interactions in a house, but not the same type. And I feel like the content of Trick or Treat was more well suited for street character interactions. And I don't know, it was again kind of the same issue I had with Poltergeist with some of the scene selection and the way it was laid out. I thought the werewolf girl scene was very strangely laid out. The character placement was weird. The wolf placement was weird. The quarry, while being one of the most big and incredible scenes I've ever seen at Horror Nights, simultaneously suffered from the fact that it will never be as big and incredible as the actual thing in the movie. So it feels both massive and, oh, this is not as big as it would be, which sounds really like petty, but it was my first thought when I entered there. I was like, wow, it's big, but it's not that big. So... And again, that room also suffered from really strange character placement. I thought the kids were in just weird spots.
And they were also very far away from the path, which was weird.
Yes. That part to me felt very Hollywood, where the characters were like really far away from the guests, and especially when they're so
At least
small.
There was a bar in front of them.
I mean, true, and they weren't in a black box.
Yeah.
But, and just things like Principal Wilkins not even having a line of dialogue like that.
He was just there.
He was remembered for. He just came out with like a knife sound. I think the beginning of the house was stronger. I think the first 3 scenes were perfection.
Yeah.
And then it sort of lost its footing about halfway through. But yeah, Wilkins puppeteering that Sam. Not Wilkins. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Nope. Krieg puppeteering that Sam. Oh my God, they were both really good. I saw both casts, but there was one in particular. His puppeteering skills were just through the roof. That Sam was alive. When he was puppeteering.
We've mentioned a couple times tonight about houses that the beginning scenes seem to be better than the end scenes. They kind of taper off. Is that is that this year's theme? baby heads.
Maybe.
Baby heads and houses that are better at the beginning.
I actually had this conversation with my friend Mikey on one of my nights off. Was we tried to pinpoint, like, can I even think of a single Horror Nights house where the finale was genuinely satisfying? Because it's really easy to build tension and it's really easy to maintain the tension. But in a haunted house setting, it's basically impossible to let you down in a satisfying way. They can't let you down the same way they brought you up.
Yeah.
So it's
Did
like,
you come up with an answer?
I can't think of a single Horror Nights house where, like, yes, the finale was completely satisfying and it was perfect. Like, I literally can't think of one.
The closest I can think of, and it's a house I didn't get to go through personally, I think it's Body Collectors.
Maybe, but even then,
that's the closest I can come up with.
I can't think of a house where the best scene is ever the last one.
That's true.
That's
like
fair.
In Body Collectors, the best scene was definitely not the last one. The best scene, I don't even know what the best scene of Body Collectors was. The house was goddamn perfect. No, maybe not even the spine rip. I really loved that scare where the body collector was slitting the throat of the doctor. That was just I loved that scene. But anyways,
like I said, wasn't there, could not give like a first opinion.
Yeah, so back to Trick or Treat. Anyway, the Sam illusion at the very beginning up at the top of the stairs was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the little static Sam outside the house. The house was beautiful.
Yes,
oh my
that facade was great.
So cool. Another that was what I was really thinking about trying to make it to, but its location and that you kind of got a clusterfuck at the back of the park.
Such a long walk to Trick and Seeds, but it always felt more worth it for Seeds.
Yeah. Like, as far as my exhaustion levels that particular night, I would not have been able to make it back there. So even listening the lines.
It was a really good house, but again, I felt like with Trick or Treat, it was just overshadowed by the other.
It's another one I forgot was there all the time.
Me too. It was the house like if I would be listing all 10 houses, it would always be the one I would forget, which is strange because it was like the first scare zone I thought of last year.
Yeah, it was really hype. And then it just got overshadowed.
Yeah.
All right. We're at the end, guys. You know what that means.
All right.
Academy of Villains.
Oh my God. Do you guys want to do Academy of Villains before Carnival?
I actually wouldn't mind because I don't have a whole lot to say about it.
I don't either. So we'll go ahead
and
get
it out of the way before we ramble for 20 minutes.
I only saw it once. And that was partly intentionally. I saw it on one of my nights off. And the first and only time I saw it, I was the second row from the very front in VIP seating. I was very blessed to get that seat. And it never would have been as good in any other spot, which is part of the reason I didn't go back. Because it's not that I didn't like the show. It's that my first experience was literally perfect and it could not have been topped. It just...
That's fair.
I had no issue with the new location. I thought they did great. I thought they did great with the length of the show. I liked everything about it except the premise, which I thought, the most direct comparison between this show is the one they did in 2016, which I still think is their absolute strongest show. It had the best story. It had the best stunts and stuff. It had the best just visual style. It worked. It was a home run. I did not think that the cyberpunk thing was very spooky. But I thought Shady Brook Asylum was very spooky. And so I like when they're spookier. And that's the only thing I can narrow it down to as to why I didn't like this one as much.
Yeah. And also, as soon as things become like, I mean, I hate to be this person, but it got kind of mainstream. It got more commercialized.
Yes.
And as
the
much
show
as I love
this year, go ahead, sorry.
It's okay. As much as I loved it, I really did. I thought it was really fun this year, and it was really cool. And the laser things were amazing. The bouncy boys were amazing. The robots.
Boys.
Am I wrong? But
They're not.
But it wasn't. It didn't have any sort of edge or complexity to it.
Absolutely, that was my first praise of the one in 2016. Was I remember seeing an entertainment preview and going back and calling some of my friends and being like, oh my God, there was actual gore in it. It was there was there was some gore, there was some sex, there was just a little.
They had sex on stage.
Absolutely, it was a porno. It was great.
I think we talked about this when we were all hanging out. When I was eating that salad, I don't remember where we were.
Good times.
We were over there. We were over there. and we talked about this, and I was like, this show does feel like kind of smooth around the edges compared to even the Irma show felt edgier
it felt like it was written by Universal, not written by AOV.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember from our conversation. Like, it felt more like Universal wrote this and less, which is not just, like, literally, like, saying all of this. Like, the guys at Academy are, like, super nice, work so hard.
Oh, my God.
They're great.
They're so fun just to watch. Like, their talent is so fun. And, like, they do, like, they know how to, like, pump a crowd, you know? Like, they are.
Yes. And I am in no place to judge anything about the dancing, which was incredible, obviously. But I could not do a single move that they do one time, much less all of those moves 6 times a night.
Right.
So, I mean, they're great. And I love and I support Academy of Villains, and I support them in attempting to take over a theater that is incredibly well established as something else that people really loved. But this show just did not hit the same home run with me that the one in 2016 did. And it was easier to see the past 2 years as well. It was easier to go see it because it was just there. But it was a much bigger time eater if you were to go see it this year, which is another reason I only saw it once, is that I had very limited time to be in the park. And so I had to choose what I did very wisely.
Yep. Right. Like, as someone who had, like, a limited time, I definitely was a little weirded out, like, how can I make time to go see this? Because I did want to, but, like, it is a walk back there, and then you sit through it, and then you gotta walk back out and get a drink.
Yeah. Drink some more. Get more drinks.
You guys, next year is gonna be wild. JK, yeah. I didn't mind it. I heard this show a lot. I did not personally get to go see it this time around, but mostly by accident. So,
yeah.
I'm curious to see what they do next time. I'll give it that. I hope they come back.
I mean, they better. I love them.
I love them as well. I saw their merch around the park a lot, so I have a very strong feeling they'll be back.
Yeah, I do say that. I will say this. I do say this. Sorry. I think we need a second show. I don't think the Scare Zone shows were enough to eat people to reduce the lines and crowds. I think we need a second show.
Where would you put it?
I agree.
I don't know where I would put it.
Animal actors.
Probably animal actors.
Yeah, animal actors.
You're right.
But I think
use the Barney Theater. I dare you, Universal. Use the Barney Theater for a Horror Nights show.
So funny.
But they use that for a queue for a house now.
True.
Just make a show. Okay, but make a show in, like, Curious George's area. It's big. Have people seat inside the little trolley. Make it Curious George horror theme.
Curious George.
Take the monkeys from Chucky and put them in the Curious George play area and just let them do their thing.
Honestly,
a crowd would form no matter what.
Just play the Yakety Sax theme and have that happen.
Oh my god, I'm ready.
Oh my god.
I think they really made a conscious effort with all of the little shows and all the scare zones to kind of have something that people could stand and watch.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was enough to do what they wanted. They need, especially if the crowds for Stranger Things are going to keep up, they need to do something else.
Yeah. Another big people eater, which some would say would be another house. I disagree because another house brings more people and raises capacity and does all this stuff. Another show is really a fantastic. I mean, honestly, open horror makeup.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Do like a hard PG-13 horror makeup, like make it edgier.
I'm ready.
Let them swear.
Yeah.
Let Mark James say fuck.
Oh my god.
Like, honestly, up it a little bit and make it like maybe a little gorier, do a little more,
What if they just did the normal show except without shirts on?
Perfect.
I'm ready. And I don't mean that in any offensive way towards any females actors there. I mean, I want to watch 2 male actors shirtless doing the exact same show they always do and never acknowledging it.
By the way, we had such a fun time at Horror Makeup before.
Yes.
Before I said it was super fun to get to do it again for the first time in the longest time for me. So.
Great show. But yeah, So that's Academy of Villains. Now we need to talk about the real winner of the event.
Yes.
No. Carnival Graveyard.
Oh, I was just going to go back to talking about Twisted Tradition, but okay.
I will say I've been through some haunted houses in my time as a spooky person. I will go through many more. Carnival Graveyard is my favorite of all time. No bias. Like, honest to God, I didn't even get to see Melody in the house, and it broke my heart. But
I wasn't in that house. I was not in that. I am but a fan of this material.
When Randy said you were in the house, she means like we had to go through without you because you were crying so hard. So we didn't actually see you walk through the house.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that was true. We did cry very hard during that run.
This is my favorite haunted house of all time. Like, no contest. You are there when you were in Carnival Graveyard. Like, you really feel like you're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny because I saw a lot of people say a lot of negative things about this house this year, and I understand a lot of the criticism. But for me personally, it is as though Universal inceptioned into my head, took everything that I liked and made a haunted house out of it.
Yeah.
And it just resonated really, really deeply with me. And yes, there absolutely is bias here.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Especially because my favorite house last year was Shining, and I was not as directly attached to that as I have been other houses in the past. So, but I loved Carnival. I loved everything about it. I loved it visually, the audio, the lighting, the lore, and the storytelling. I mean, there was a lot going on in there. More going on in there than I can ever think of in another house ever.
Yeah.
It's deep background lore. Like, we don't even have time to get into all of it. Like, it's incredible.
That would be a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other episode.
I connected with this house way too much, frankly.
That's okay. I'm glad that you did.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. I guess we'll begin with the facade, which was perfect.
Yes.
Chills.
All 105 times I saw it.
Yep. Like, I remember sitting in the chair and kind of looking up at everything, and you are instantly in the yard. Like,
yeah. It is one of the most immersive houses I can think of, because it and this is something I predicted from the very beginning. It was like a real space that made logical sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was big and it was wide and it was used. It was useful in its efficiency.
Everything that you saw made sense that you were seeing it, if that makes any sense.
No, it does.
Everything had a place, and even if you could see it from multiple angles, it made logical sense as to why it was there. And again, these are just the little things. You don't see a lot of haunted houses that do things like that.
I also really love
Horror Nights doing that.
I really loved how a lot of rooms were 2 stories. You had Robot Clown and Eric Lee. Yep. I loved the height, which also added so much.
There were 3 different locations where you could see the Crazy Crash sign from. You could see the main yard scene with the truck from 3 different locations.
You could, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those are I cannot.
That's what makes it real.
Nice house that has done the same thing, where you're walking through what feels like a real space. And I don't know. I just thought it was perfect from beginning to end. Every character was unique from one another.
Yes.
There were no just like endless copy, no babyface or babyface type thing, no Demogorgon after Demogorgon. Everything was different. I don't know. When I first heard the concept, I thought maybe it was going to be kind of campy, and I do think there were some elements of that, but I did not think that it was overall like silly. I don't know. Yeah. It's very difficult to pinpoint what the tone was, but I
think there was a really interesting balance of like camp and menace.
That's
Can I get that tattooed on my butt? Like one thing has a camp that says menace.
Oh my god.
I love that. You really should.
Like, you had, who's the guy who high-fived me? The baby guy.
Cupie.
Thank you, Cupie. He high-fived me. It was really sweet. Because you have people like that, but then you have, and Robot Clown, but you have like some genuinely like kind of scary things in there too. Like there was balance.
Well, it had the hashtag Charles Gray signature of the guests being the subject of the house rather than an observer to the house. So
yeah, you're the trespasser.
Absolutely.
You were the trespasser.
Yes.
And it was another reason I love Dead Exposure. You were the victim of this zombie attack. You were the one being vaccinated. It was your experience. And it was the same in Carnival. You were in there and they were attacking you.
Yep.
And it led to a lot of freedom for interaction, even within the triggers. Listen, Darcy, you shut up.
Yeah, I certainly got a lot of interaction.
It left a lot of freedom for interaction with the guests, and just a lot of freedom with the actors in general. Like when you're a crazy, deranged carny, you can do almost anything, and it makes sense.
Yeah,
but on top of that, the fact that every character had a backstory, and pretty much every actor who was ever in there used that backstory as part of their scare, and even if that wasn't something that the public knew about, I feel like it made an impact. It would have, if none of us had any backstories and we were all just going purely off the trigger sound, I think it would be a lot different.
Yeah.
Than with and I can say that for fact because the backstories were not there like the first weekend. Everything changed when we all learned who we were supposed to be.
Yep. And that was honestly, like, I loved the house from the beginning, but that was when it clicked for me, was when you guys actually had characters.
Yeah. And it was great. And I think it added so much to the guest experience, even if they didn't realize it, because it was not, we weren't just arbitrarily scaring. We were scaring as somebody, even without being in an IP. And that's not an experience you get a whole lot in an original. That was actually like a minor gripe I had with Fallen last year, was that it was these sort of, the demons had cool names. You had, the suffering, mutilation, that type of thing. But they weren't anybody. They were just sort of things instead of people or like beings. And with Carnival, between the stuff chosen as the trigger and the ridiculous costumes and everything, even if you didn't know who they were somebody. Yeah, if that makes sense. And like I said, there's just not a whole lot of originals, especially houses, that give that type of feeling. You get that from IPs, but you don't always get that in original. And I loved that, and I loved all the Christmas lights. Screw you, Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Carnival Graveyard, best Christmas light use.
Like, I am going to be perfectly honest. Every time I see Christmas lights over a large open space, it makes me cry.
Oh,
yeah.
This is a really sad season.
Very specifically.
This is a V specific story too. The night we went, we went through all together. The barrels came back in Ernest Lee's room, and it was the best.
Because we also didn't know.
I will forever remember walking back into that room and everyone just losing their minds, like just
I noticed before we even got in there, because there's like, through the loose panels of wood, you could kind of see things, and I was like, there are things moving.
And you know what's funny, Darcy? After you pointed that out, that you could see that through the pallet racks, then I started looking, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can.
I just started unconsciously noticing it after that one day.
I'm so that in my opinion is the coolest scare I have ever witnessed at horror.
Absolutely,
it's awesome.
Scare.
Like, I've never even seen it before, and I was still screaming.
It was really only super scary if you were over 6 foot tall, but it was just cool. It was cool otherwise, and it was unexpected. And that was another thing with Carnival. Lots of organic sound, which is abnormal in horror nights. You look at something like Poltergeist, where there was a total of 0 organic sound. And again, I'm not saying that as any kind of detriment. It's just everything you're hearing is coming through a speaker. But in Carnival, between the hammers, the bangy fences, and Ernest Lee's barrels, you had and even like Cora and Dora's little sliding doors. Like, there was a lot of real sound going on.
Yeah, you're right.
It's supposed to be this nasty, rusty, hard working man salvage yard. I felt like that added another layer.
Yeah,
you need a tetanus shot after you go through.
Yes, honestly, you needed a tetanus shot when you went in.
Hey,
I would like a shot of tetanus in a shot glass,
right down the hatch.
Hey, where would you guys take a nap in this house? Because we've discussed this.
Oh yeah,
take a nap. I thought
Critter Kingdom is a good option.
Well, y'all know I'm in the Vamp 55 freezer.
That's a very
that's technically occupied, but
it is. I would go a level up, and I would lay on the top of the pallet rack so I could oversee the whole yard.
Oh,
I
that's
think that would be because you get a great view. You could watch Little Devil, getting people see, and it was great.
Someone gave me the idea once. String up a hammock on the light posts and like that.
Ooh,
I want that.
Yeah,
that's
especially if it's like the actual electrical lines and there's the threat of me dying at any given point. That'd be great.
I want to
I could have died in Carnival Graveyard.
God, I wish I had too.
I want to lay in the fence room between the two layers of fences so that when the fence smashes down, it just smashes into me.
Yes.
Not only just where we want to die in Carnival Graveyard, but it's also where we want to take a nap.
Dying is just an eternal sleep.
Yeah, this escalated.
I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here because I feel like we could just talk about Carnival Graveyard forever, but it really was a special experience.
Wait,
we barely even talked about it, honestly.
Can I
have we though?
Carnival Graveyard?
Yes. I have said, like,
the Funhouse part.
I have never connected with a house like that. It was surreal. My entire experience with that house.
Yes, Darcy was the unofficial official trespasser. The only welcome trespasser there was. Connie too, but not to the same numbers.
No.
Yeah.
I would do one. They seemed okay with me.
There was oh shit, what was I gonna say?
Funhouse.
Shout out to Baghead Buster.
Yes.
Shout out to Baghead Buster. And shout out to Cleve.
My rope is very touched right now.
My emotional rope is really touched right now as well. But yeah, I thought it was a stupendous house that I was really misunderstood by a lot of the general public. There was a lot of expectations that general public and fans, because I remember before the event, it was like number 1 on everyone's hype list. And then when rankings started coming out, it was like number 4, 5, 6, 7 on pretty much everybody's. There were very few people I saw it at number 1 on. But for the people it was number 1 for, it wasn't just like number 1 this year. It's like
it was best ever. Number 1 in general.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like for the people that it resonated with on a more intense level than I think people expected.
Yeah.
I really wasn't expecting
there was just so much really interesting costume design in there. Shout out to Alvy's glove, which everyone just thought was like a Freddy knife glove. But each finger was a different like utensil. One was a bottle opener, one was a corkscrew, one was a utilitarian. They were just all different, and I thought that was, again, like it didn't need to be that detailed or that interesting, but it was. And so many Easter eggs, Vamp Ice Cream Cart, Disaster Box, Run Sign, but not even just those. There were so many, and it for anyone with even a passing knowledge of Horror Nights history, it was just a fucking treasure trove.
Oh yeah,
of things to look at. And even people, just anything, just so much weird stuff. Francis the Gator, like why?
Francis the Gator, I
he wasn't even hidden.
Crocodile Hoops.
Yes, Crocodile Hoops. Wow, don't tell Shelby.
What if Crocodile is just Francis wearing a wig? Connected.
Oh my god, I knew it. Okay. I mean, it would be really we know that Seeds of Extinction and Carnival are in the same universe.
Yep.
Sure are.
And, wouldn't it be crazy if Dead Waters was too?
I mean,
it's not a stretch at all.
You know what? Stranger things have happened.
The Stranger Things? Okay. We've done a full turn. I'll go ahead and start with plugs. Let's see. You can follow me at luckbealady21 on Twitter. I don't really tweet a whole hell of a lot, but I will interact with people if you interact with me, so that's solid. You can follow the podcast at mayhem_podcast on Twitter. That's like our general stuff. And we're also on Instagram at
Mayhem Podcast.
Thank you.
I think.
And let's see.
Wait, let me check.
Yeah, check real fast.
Mistresses of Mayhem, no underscores.
Mistresses of Mayhem, no underscores. Yes. Okay, cool. So follow us there. We haven't posted a whole heck of a lot. My plug for the week that isn't related to anything is if you have Shudder, the horror streaming podcast, and if you don't, I think it's really worth it. It's pretty cheap comparatively and super awesome and has lots of cool things. They're having their horror marathon Dinners of Death this Thanksgiving. Go watch that. It'll be really fun. It's like a 24-hour horror marathon with Joe Bob Briggs, who has a lot of interesting stuff to say about all the movies you watch. You can watch his last marathon, The Last Drive-In. I have been. It's really fun. The movies are great. They have really familiar ones that you know, like Hellraiser and Reanimator, with stuff I'd never seen, like Daughters of Darkness and Basket Case. So, yeah, it's a good mix.
I love Basket Case.
I did not know I loved it until I watched it, and I love it. It is fantastic.
Great movie.
Yes. So that's my plug. Who wants to go next?
My name is Connie Wayne on Twitter and also in real life. And my Instagram is con underscores on either side of the le. My plug is I'm gonna do a book of the week. My book of the week is My Favorite Thing is Monsters, which is like a graphic novel, full color, and it just everyone's monsters, and the main character is a little girl, and her head's a werewolf head. So is it what you want? And hey guys, go to your fucking library, check out books, but not this week. I'm on vacation. And something else. Oh, Waffle House.
Yeah.
I want Waffle House.
Can I get a waffle?
I need to
Please get a waffle.
Yeah.
That was a big theme at Horror Nights
A
this
waffle
year.
on a
Can I get
stick?
a waffle?
Can I please get a waffle on a stick?
Who's going next? You want me to go next? Darcy, you want to go?
Go for it.
Mel's Diane with 2 L's. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter with that. I do tweet a lot. Twitter is probably your best place to follow me. I don't know. I talk a lot about Horror Nights. I talk a little bit about Disney. I talk a lot about things that are really inappropriate for most of the audience that I have. Yeah, I can't think of any outside things to plug. Nope, can't think of anything. I got a lot going on in my personal life right now, man. I'm moving this week. A lot of things going on. The only thing I can plug is my phone into the wall, so it's fully charged for the day tomorrow.
You should do that.
It's
Probably
actually
smart.
plugged into my portable battery right now, so it's charging up.
Good.
Actually, can I do one quick,
go for it.
super brief, sappy shout out?
Yeah.
To anyone who listens to this, if you did come to Horror Nights this year, thank you. I had a really fun year. Maybe the most fun I've had yet at Horror Nights, and it's something I hope I can do forever. I miss Mama.
We can. You'll always be my mama.
Always be our mom.
Mom.
Don't you mess with my mama.
That's just my internal monologue every time I talk to you. Don't you mess with my mama.
Every time something bad happens to me, that's what everybody thinks. I'm really hoping someone on my cast gets me a Mother's Day gift this year.
Oh, girl.
I would appreciate that, but no.
I mean, I have no plans for Mother's Day yet, but I have plans for another holiday that ends with day.
Birthday.
That's not.
I'll
text you about it later.
I feel like I can pretty well speak for most of the Carnival Graveyard cast in saying we love doing our thing, and we love when people come through and had fun, and I love when people came through and got really scared.
Yeah.
It fuels me. Also, don't bring your child in a front-facing carrier through a haunted house.
No. Oh my god.
Please, our depth perception is not that good.
Smack that baby with a scythe.
Absolutely
Oh my God.
never did I ever smack a baby, but I did come out once and I was like, holy moly, if I did not perfectly have my footing right now, this could have gone real bad. Thank heavens I can see where I'm going, but I can't speak for anybody else who's in masks or whoever knows what else.
I want to piggyback on that real fast. Thank you to every security, ops, team member.
Yes.
Anyone who helped us out, especially on the day when we were all there because we were quite a motley crew. But also to anyone who has been safe and wonderful this year, because there was a lot this year. So thanks to you guys.
Yes.
All right. So most of my social media is at Torch the Bats, Twitter, Instagram. I guess you can follow my Tumblr, but really all I do is ramble nonsensically. I also have a photography Instagram at Shoot the Bats in case you want to see horror nights, some awesome mix, not as much as before, Grinchmas, Finding
Disney
Nemo.
in general, yeah.
Yeah, general theme park stuff. Please follow it now because I'm posting a shot tomorrow that made me cry when I got it. But also I'd like to piggyback on the thanking the ops thing. Just thank you to the carnival ops who put up with my presence.
Girl,
And especially
they
the
loved
one that
you.
tried to sacrifice me to the robot clown. Like, I don't say
We
this.
bring the virgin sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But
Not to
this
roast
isn't
you.
like shoving me towards it. This is picking me up like baby Simba and holding me up to the clown.
Oh,
Take her.
love that clown.
Take her.
Man,
I gotta
that
wave
clown
it a
doing
heart for that
Fortnite dances. 10 out of 10.
I can't believe this is a reoccurring thing with Horror Nights this year is scare actors doing Fortnite dances.
It was
I
a
can
Can I be real with
imagine.
you guys?
By next year, Fortnite dances will be the same level as like D's Nuts is right now, and
my
so
God.
this will never happen again. You'll
I
never
don't know,
see them
people are
floss
still-
ever again.
Can I tell
People
you
are
guys
still
something?
dabbing. In fact, people dabbing is funnier than it used to be now.
Oh, yeah.
How old is dabbing actually?
At least 3 years.
Dabbing hit its peak at
Ugh.
HHN 26 when I literally got smacked in the face by a child who was dabbing so violently that he didn't know I was there.
Oh no.
And
Guys,
that was
Amazing.
You're right. I saw someone dabbing to a Smith song once in City
It was
Walk.
literally every time the Killer Clowns theme would play in Clowns, I would try to dab in time with the wind up.
wow. Oh no, the wind
Oh
up.
no, the wind up at the beginning where it would
Yeah.
just go into the guitar solo. That. I would dab with that every time.
You guys, what is Fortnite? I don't know still.
It's
Oh
a
my
game,
God.
but in the game, people can make their like game avatars do stupid dances from TV shows. But for some reason, people don't remember that the dance moves are from TV shows. They only remember them as dances from the game, which is called Fortnite. So like the floss or that one where someone's screaming.
One
Or
where someone's
the kicking.
screaming?
There's the kicking one, and then
Yes.
there's the one where you move your knees
Google-
back and forth.
Please Google Fortnite dances. FORTNITE. Fort.
You will recognize all of them.
I swear you will. They're all from like sitcoms from the 90s.
And
Okay.
you know, I know like it shouldn't always spill backstage things, but I am really gonna miss watching Demogorgons do push-ups.
Oh.
Okay, before we reveal any more of the secrets, I think we better go. So,
Yeah.
No, you're right.
what's my outro again? Oh god, I always say, get creative, be weird, and stay spooky. That's it. That's what I always tell the kids. Okay, so do that. All right.
Bye.
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 Bye.